They just small talk. All right, that's live now.
Hey, everybody out there. It's Saturday night.
Yeah.
We've got our liquor
Yeah.
all ready. We'll probably have to stop at some point, to go get some more.
Yeah, we'll be taking breaks.
Check on the kitty and stuff like that. Because like I said, we're doing 3 cases on this show. So hopefully we'll see how long it ends up being. Like I said, originally when I did the notes, I had 4 cases and then I ended up having to take them out. But the thing about this, because several of these cases had been requested, and finally I was like, okay, I'm just going to do a big show about, essentially sex slave kidnappings. And it turns out that there are so many of these cases, so many high profile ones with fascinating details. It was really hard for me to sort out which ones I wanted to do and which ones I wanted to leave out. So I think eventually we're going to have to do at least a volume 2 on this, because there are at least 3 or 4 other cases that I wanted to do and that I knew that we weren't going to have time for.
Yeah.
So on this one, I'm going to cover the Ariel Castro case because, we've been wanting to do that one for a long time. Okay,
we just had 12 show up. So people are starting to pile in. How you guys doing? I see all the comments going up. Right. What's up? Put the lotion in the basket. It puts the lotion in the basket. BlackMarigold here. Jenny Frisch is in. Mango Badger's here. I don't know if you guys saw, but we were talking about that girl, and I put the name on that last video. Her name was Yulia Nova.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yulia Nova. She's supernatural.
With the boobies.
Yeah, supernatural boobs.
If you don't know what we're talking about, go watch our live review of
You're
Yummy.
Right. It was a boob-centric show.
Well, because it was a boob-centric movie, kind of. So
that's right.
We kind of ended up having to talk about boobs quite a bit.
Yeah, and it got a young woman from the late 90s named Yulia Nova, who's, I think, from Ukraine or Russia or something, and she probably weighed maybe about 105, 110 pounds, and 30 of it was boob. Yeah, she's cute, though. Probably 18, 19, little thing. So I sent her. You can find her on YouTube.
Yeah.
Old pictures, old videos of her. Not or anything, but Yulia.
Tammy says, who took a nap? Did you take a nap?
I tried, but I couldn't.
I didn't.
Yeah, I couldn't.
I was rereading and rereading, because how obsessive I get. I was reading and rereading all my notes for this and watching last minute documentaries and interviews and stuff. So I had interesting information. Yeah. Samuel Grimes, golfing in 7 hours time to be sleeping. This is dedication to the channel. Well, yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, now you're going to be out there on the links and you're going to be all fucking sleepy. Yeah. That's all right. I'm kind of sleepy too. Cause like I said, on the Yummy review, little Pookie woke us up at, what was it? 6 a.m.
We're up to 17. Got 17 in here. They're all starting to come in. Everybody's coming in.
Yeah.
All right. Looks good. People showing up.
Yeah.
You guys would kill on watch parties on Twitch.
We should probably do that one of these
watch
days.
Party? Yeah.
Yeah, we could do, I don't know, we could do all kind of, we could do horror movies.
We can look into it.
Shit. Yeah, we'll be doing that. Because like I said, I know we kind of put off live streaming for a long time, but honestly, it's kind of more fun than doing the recording. Like I said, it's easier because I don't have as much editing to do on the back end, but it's also, like you said, I have less fear of just sitting here with nothing to say, because there's always people asking questions and interacting and stuff, and I actually do kind of like that a lot better.
Seth is in. Denzik Resnick, do some shitty movie riffs. I just can't do it off the top of my head. I'm not drunk yet. Dennis will probably make an appearance. We'll have to see.
Yeah, this definitely seems like a topic that Dennis will probably have some insight into.
Yeah.
Which, in case you didn't see the title card, we're talking about sex slave kidnappings.
Yeah.
We're doing the Ariel Castro case, the Fritzl case, which is one of the most fucked up things ever, and the case of Elisabeth Smart.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was saying earlier that there were so many cases of this that had similar details that it was really hard for me to decide which ones to do. And we're probably just going to have to do a second volume at some point. So I can cover some other cases because I was going to do Colleen Stan on this one too, but then I was like, man, I'm just not going to have time to do all these. I'm going to have to do volume 2. But yeah.
Okay, we're doing good. We can go ahead and start the shout out.
Yeah, okay. So, all right. So we're going to start out. I just got a couple of shout outs. Remember how I said I was doing like second editions of a lot of my fiction and stuff like that? Well, I finally finished the print and ebook second edition of my book, Hopeful Monsters. The original came out in 2009, but I just recently did kind of a revamp of it. I added like 4 or 5 new stories. I added new photos. I did a new cover and all this other stuff. I also did an audiobook version, which I've uploaded the audio files, but it's still going through, the quality control or whatever. So it'll probably be like a couple weeks unless there's a fuck up. But the new version of the print and the ebook is already up there. So if you want to check that out, that would be really cool. And I'll let you guys know when the audiobook is available also. Also, we have 2 new patrons this week. Bunny, who I think I shouted out on one of our matinee shows, and Bunjip or Bunjip. There's a J, but I know how sometimes. So, and I actually
sounds Korean.
They're actually Australian.
Australian, all right.
Yeah, they were saying they were saying hello from Australia. Okay. They just came on like last night, I think, like right before I closed down the office and went to watch Gordon Ramsay for the evening.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, you guys, 2 kind of big heavy hitters. So that's really cool, man. Getting a lot of patrons, which, like I said, we just went over 9,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. So it's very exciting. Very exciting. Just started with the live streaming. You know how we do. Yeah. Tom's not yet drunk enough to channel Dennis, though. No, he's probably not.
No. No, I hadn't started rolling yet.
Yeah, we only just started drinking. Although you've made a pretty impressive dent in that.
No, that wasn't the big drink. Actually.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like all the way to the top, like usual. And I was like, holy shit, did you drink half of your big giant man jar already?
I got silver tequila in lemonade with some lime juice in it.
That sounds delicious, other than the tequila part.
Right. Well,
I just have my regular shit. This is just Sky vodka.
You're not man enough for
juice.
tequila.
That's all right.
Yeah, you're not man enough for tequila. See, that's how that goes.
Okay. I don't know if you'd like me as much if I had balls.
Yeah, exactly.
Like literal balls. But yeah.
Kind of sleepy.
I am too, like I said. Yeah. We talked about this on the Yummy review earlier today, but it's like little Pookie woke us up at 6 a.m. because she was very excited that she hadn't yet killed it, but she had disabled a big, huge cockroach. Yeah. That got in the room.
Palmetto bug. She's sitting there smacking it. We talked about that already.
Yeah, like I said. So she had to like wake us up and be like, look, I got the monster. I saved you guys. So you know what I mean? So I tried to go back to sleep, but I couldn't. So yeah, I'm really, really, really sleepy. Yeah. So it's like probably like by the time that I get like enough alcohol in me, I'll just be completely incoherent. But I did ask, like, before we started recording, I'm like, you do know some shit about this case, right? So in case I totally space out, like, you'll be able to kind of like pick up. Because I remember you read a lot about the Ariel Castro case because you were kind of one of the ones that's been wanting to do it. You know what I mean? And I remember
when it happened.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. It was 2013.
Yeah.
I mean, we were living here then, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we were. It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. Because I remember all that shit happened, and I remember all the stuff with Charles Ramsey and Dead Giveaway. He wrote a book called Dead Giveaway.
And that song, Dead Giveaway.
I still can't, like, now every time, because I watched a bunch of documentaries and news footage and stuff like that about this case again to refresh my memory, and it's like I can't hear him talking without hearing that song that they made out of his interview.
Dead Giveaway. Dead Giveaway.
It was really good. It rhymed and everything. I was like, and it was like really catchy. So it's like now every time I hear him talk, it's like all I can hear is that song. I just thought it was very funny that he called the book Dead Giveaway. I've heard that he's not, I mean, he seems like a cool person, but it's like, I guess he's got like some criminal history and some,
I think he's a crackhead, isn't he?
Yeah, some shit like that. So I guess he's not like a fantastic person, but he's like a good person because he like did save that girl. Yeah. Although the thing is, it's like there was another neighbor that came over there too, and it's like that guy never gets any attention. Yeah. Angel Cordero or whatever his name was. He was like the first one over there. But yeah, so he helped too. But far as I know, he didn't get free McDonald's or anything like that. Didn't he get like a bunch of free McDonald's?
I think he got a lifetime of McDonald's.
Or something like that. Yeah, because he kept saying that he was just every day he would go get McDonald's.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Since they made a movie
like a McDonald's.
Yeah, he was. So they were just like, hey, thanks, man. It's like,
you
know, big hero. And he's like plugging how much he loves McDonald's. I thought that was really funny. But yeah, so we're going to talk about that case first. The Ariel Castro case. Now, this kind of shit, I mean, okay. We do like a lot of true crime on here, and it's bad enough when somebody gets like kidnapped and murdered. Obviously, that's terrible. But in a way, people that get kidnapped and then like put in like a basement or like locked in someone's house.
Yeah, kept. That's even more
And then
cruel.
they're in there for like 10 years, or like in the Fritzl case, she was there for 24 years. You remember, it's like, like, I can't even imagine what that must be like and what their day-to-day life must have been like. I mean, that's just like a horrifying thing to think about. And the fact that they can come out the other end, because I was watching just like a couple hours ago, I was just watching like interviews with, Amanda Berry and Michelle Knight and Gina DeJesus. And they just seem like completely normal humans. They were in there for like 10, 11 years. Yeah. They were trapped in this crazy person's house.
Yeah, he was beating them and stuff.
Beating them, raping them, like fucking, it's like, Jesus Christ, how do you even...
He was punching the babies out of them.
Yeah, how do you even like recover from something like that? Like the fact that they can just come out and be normal people again, that just like blows my fucking mind. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were saying, we ate ribs with this dude and we didn't have a clue.
Like,
them girls were in that house.
Nobody knew.
Yeah.
That
he was acting normal, riding sport bikes, having fucking barbecues.
Well, he was in a band.
Yeah.
Everybody knew the guy. He drove a school bus.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
Bizarre.
I mean, because you would never think that about your neighbors. Well, it's like in this neighborhood, like our neighbors could have people in the basement. We would never know. I don't know what the fuck they're doing over there. You know what I mean? The creepy thing. That's what I mean. There is no way of knowing. It's like, and it's kind of easy to say, and you'll see this like in a lot of in all the cases we're going to talk about.
Most of our neighbors I've never seen.
Yeah, because a lot of them don't usually.
You just never see them.
You don't see them. It's like every now and then I'll see them like, coming out like and getting in their car and going somewhere like in the morning or something. But it's like you don't usually see them like or out mowing the lawn or whatever. But you'll see that in like, I feel like once that once the girls were rescued, it's very easy to look back now that everybody knows that they were in there the whole time, to go back and go, why didn't anybody XYZ? Why didn't anybody notice? Why didn't anybody hear anything? Why didn't you do anything? But the thing about it is that, would that occur to you? Like I said, if I was walking in my backyard, for an example, if I was walking around in my backyard and heard somebody yelling from next door, you know what I mean? Or like heard banging or something like that, I wouldn't necessarily think anything of it. I would just think, oh, somebody's playing or it's their kid or something like that. I think that's what most people would think. So it's easy to kind of look back, hindsight's 20/20, and say somebody should have noticed, particularly the way Ariel Castro was like, oh, people weren't allowed, like he wouldn't let anybody in his house. And like there was, wood over some of the windows and stuff like that. But a lot of the houses in that neighborhood were kind of junky or kind of crappy. And he acted pretty normal, like other than the not letting people come in his house thing.
Said one of the neighbors said they saw a naked girl come running out on her hands.
I hear that every now and then too.
With a damn leash around her neck.
See, now that
and then he went out there and got her.
That's a detail that should have been a red flag. But it's weird because that's a detail that I hear it every now and then, like in some accounts.
Yeah.
But then in some accounts I don't.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know if that was like a detail that was added later or was embellished.
The explanation I heard was that the people just thought it was some kind of consensual fucking kinky shit going on.
Yeah. And like I said, I guess that's
like
something
BDSM,
that you would think that everybody's just like, oh, that's how that is going on in the family there. And you wouldn't necessarily think anything about it. I do feel like if people knew you were in distress, most people would try to help you. Yeah. But I think also people are like, man, that's their business and I'm going to stay out of it too. Cause you don't want to like get all up in people's faces and they're just like, hey, this is just a thing that we do. You know what I mean? You don't want to interfere with like other people. Stuff. Right. And so it's like, I can understand like how that happens. Now in the case of the Fritzl case, which we'll probably talk about second, That one, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people shit on the guy's wife for not knowing what was going on or something like that. And I can kind of see that.
She didn't live in the house, though.
Yeah, she did.
Ariel Castro's wife?
No, I said the Fritzl case.
Oh, okay, case. Yeah. But
Ariel Castro, yeah, he lived alone.
Yeah.
Before like he had started kidnapping. His wife had left him, understandably, because he beat the shit out of her as well, which we will get into. So, all right. So the Ariel Castro case, like I said, this happened in Cleveland, Ohio. This was the kidnapping of 3 girls in separate incidents between 2002 and 2004. And these girls were kept in this shithead's house for, between 10, 11, 12 years until they finally escaped in 2013. One of the girls, Amanda Berry, gave birth to a daughter while she was imprisoned. The daughter, Jocelyn, was 6 years old when the girls finally escaped. One of the other girls, the first girl that was kidnapped, Michelle Knight, she was actually a young woman. She was impregnated at least 5 times, but Ariel Castro, induced miscarriages in her every single time by hitting her in the abdomen with dumbbells or with his fists or other things.
Dang.
I think what ended up happening, and I feel like poor Michelle Knight, she gets kind of the short end of the stick, I feel like, because she was actually the first one taken. She was 21 years old when she was taken. The other girls were younger. And the thing about her is that her parents, I guess,
they weren't looking for her.
They weren't really looking for her, because the problem was...
What you doing? Oh, man.
I mean,
Get attacked by a kid.
What are you doing there, Pookie?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, I feel like she kind of gets the short end of the stick, like I said, because she, the other 2 girls had their family, coming out, and like they had posters. They were on the news all the time. They were on Montel. They were on Oprah. They were on other stuff. And I feel like Michelle Knight's parents, because she was taken first, and because she was an adult, they just assumed that she was a runaway or that she was a fuck up or something like that. Because there was a thing where she had actually, on the day that she was kidnapped, she was on her way to like a court hearing because her son had been taken out of her custody. Now, what I heard, allegedly, the reason that he was taken out of her custody wasn't because of anything she did in particular, but I read that her mother's boyfriend at the time, I guess Michelle left the kid, whose name was Joey, with that guy, to watch him for a few minutes while she was doing something, and he hurt the kid. So I guess CPS thought that, well, you shouldn't have left him with that guy, and so it's kind of your fault too. So they took the kid out of her custody. So on the day when she was taken, she was actually going to a court hearing to argue that she should get her son back. And the sad thing was that, so when she was kidnapped, her parents just assumed, oh, well, she was just pissed because she thought she wasn't get her son back, and she probably just ran away. And they didn't really look for her all that hard.
Yeah.
And it really does seem like, too, because she was over 18, she was only in the missing persons registry or whatever for like 18 months, and then they took her off it because they just assumed, she just took off.
Skip town.
And, there's nothing we can do about it because she's a grown up. So, I mean, I saw an interview with her. I watched it today. She's changed her name and everything like that. And she seems like a lovely human being. And it's really is sad that she didn't come out. She was actually the most physically harmed. She had the most injuries. She was in the hospital longer than the other 2.
I think she was fighting him more.
She was there the longest. Yeah. She was there like 11 years because she was taken in 2002. And I kind of feel like the reason that he took her was because, even though she was 21, she was a little bitty girl. She was only 4'10" or something. And she was just like a tiny little person. And I think that maybe he thought that she was younger than she was. It's weird because, and another thing too, I feel like there was kind of some victim blaming, and even Ariel Castro did this himself, like at his fucking trial, where he would kind of vacillate between, oh, I'm sorry I did this. I have a pornography addiction and all that other kind of crap. But also blaming them for getting into a car with a stranger, even though he wasn't really a stranger to them. It's like I believe Gina was friends with his daughter, and Amanda went to school with one of his kids or two of his kids. They knew who he was. He wasn't just like a stranger. It was like, they all lived on the same street or in the same neighborhood, and he drove a bus. They all kind of knew each other. So he wasn't just like a total creeper.
Yeah, they couldn't escape. Because at first he kept them handcuffed to some pipes underneath the.
They were chained
up. Yeah.
What he did, what the two girls that I saw an interview with Gina and Amanda, and they said they were locked in these two upstairs rooms, and there was like a hole in the wall that had a chain through it, and they were attached to the same chain, through the wall.
At first, though, I thought they were down in the basement, chained up to some fucking pipes.
I think they might have been. He later floor.
He got them out of there.
He later moved them up to the upstairs bedrooms, but they were locked in there and they were chained together. And they just had buckets in there. And one thing that he would do too is that, like I said, a lot of the windows were boarded up. The doors were locked. Like the front two doors, there was actually two doors. It was like a metal storm door, and there was like a bigger door, and he kept that locked. And another thing that he would do too, and this was the reason that they were kind of like afraid to leave sometimes even when he left, was that he would do a thing where he would leave a door open, or he would leave like a window partially open or something. And then he would just kind of go down the street. And if they tried to like yell, or if they tried to escape or something like that, he would come back, or like he was testing them. So he would do that a lot too. So they just got into the habit of every time that happened, they thought that he was fucking with them and that he was just going to come back and beat the shit out of them because he was just testing them to see if they would leave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he had
all kinds of mind control.
He did. But it should be noted that despite that, like as soon as Amanda Berry that particular day, noticed that the big door was open. Now the storm door was still closed and locked, but as soon as she noticed it was open, that his car was gone and that there was a neighbor on the porch across the street, she immediately went there and stuck her arm out through the door and started screaming. Yeah. So it's not like she was, completely like institutionalized or whatever you want to say. Because as soon as she got the opportunity, she started yelling and got the fuck out of there. So, Now, all right. So here's what happened with Ariel Castro. So Ariel Castro was actually born in Puerto Rico. But his parents divorced when he was pretty young, and he moved to the United States, particularly Pennsylvania, with his mom. And then they ended up moving to Cleveland, where a lot of his other relatives were. Now, he had a girlfriend, when he got older, he graduated from high school, and he had this girlfriend named Grimilda Figueroa. Now, his family moved in across the street from her family, so that's how they met. From what I heard, it was kind of a case of he didn't really care about her in particular. He was just like a woman, and he just like wanted a woman around to like abuse, I guess. So it's like she was as good as any because she was just like across the street. So they ended up getting married, and they, I guess they lived with his parents and they lived with her parents because, like I said, they lived across the street. But then they got their own house, 2207 Seymour Avenue. They moved in here in 1992, and this was the house where all of the girls would eventually be imprisoned. Now, it kind of looked like it's gone now because the city tore it down. But it looked like a dump, like when you saw it on the news and everything like that. I don't know how much of a dump it was when they bought it. It had been built like in 1890. So it was like a really old house, but it was very large and it had like a really big basement. So as soon as these two moved in together, that's when relatives and stuff like that started saying that Ariel Castro started beating the shit out of his wife. He apparently broke her ribs. He broke her nose, broke her arms on multiple occasions. He also hit her so hard in the head that he caused a blood clot, which eventually caused a tumor that would kill her several years later. So that's nice. So he threw her down the stairs. He did all this other kind of shit. Now, he did actually get arrested for domestic violence in 1992, but the grand jury failed to indict him. So I don't know how that
So
works.
he was a wife beater.
Yeah, big time. So his wife got the fuck out in 1996. They had 4 kids, and she took all of them with her, thankfully. Now, the cops actually came there and helped her move out of the house. But then, again, they didn't press charges against him. Even after she left, he continued to threaten her and harass her, kidnapped the kids on a couple of occasions. She got a restraining order, but it was only in effect for a couple of months, and then it was dismissed. So this woman just really didn't seem to get taken seriously at any point. And they actually talked to some of Ariel Castro's family members, because he had quite a lot of family that lived in the area. And it's kind of sad. And I guess this, it's better now, but I guess even in this time period, domestic violence was just kind of something that happened. And even his other family members knew about it. And they were just kind of like, well, it's not our business type of thing.
Well, I think it had a lot to do with the fact that there was kind of like Hispanic communities and stuff. And the income level had a lot to do with it. The policing was pretty busy, I think. Like in an area where there wasn't so much crime, they probably would have done something about it. Everything's on a scale.
Yeah, true, I guess.
It just depends on what the orders of prior. Where was this again?
Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah. I remember looking at that area. That looked like a high crime area. I'm
not sure what the crime statistics are. I've heard Cleveland is kind of a dump. I've never been there. So if anybody's in Cleveland, they can tell me. But somebody asked, wasn't Elisabeth Smart in Utah? Yeah, that was Utah. It was Mormons. But yeah, we'll probably do that one. Probably do that one last. Yeah, so like I said, Castro's wife, girlfriend, did they ever get married? I don't even know. Wikipedia said girlfriend, but then I thought they got married at some point. But she ended up dying in 2012 because of the brain tumor that he had inflicted with the blood clot and everything like that. Now, so Castro worked as a school bus driver for a long time, like 22 years, 36. It's a really long time it was, for the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. Now, he eventually got fired for doing shit like he would make illegal U-turns, like with a bus full of kids. He used the bus to go grocery shopping. He left a kid on the bus. Like, he would go to his house for lunch or and he would leave a kid on the bus and go, hey, duck down in the bus so nobody sees you.
You gotta get some lunch, huh?
Yeah, and or he would leave the bus unlocked on the street while he went in his house and took a nap and shit like that. He would do shit like that, which and I think there was one incident too, which might have been the same one with the lunch and making the kids stay on the bus. But it's he that was kind of considered, because he was supposed to be taking the kid home, because that's what the school bus is for. But instead, he's like, no, man, I'm getting hangry, so I got to stop, and you have to stay on the bus. You know what I mean? So I can go get something to eat. So I'm not going to take you home yet, even though that's what I'm supposed to do. So I think it was that kind of thing. So he did eventually end up getting fired. Also, when he was arrested, here's something interesting that I didn't know. His house, where the girls were being kept captive, was actually in foreclosure because he had not paid real estate taxes for 3 years.
Damn.
So he would have gotten caught eventually, I guess, when they came to foreclose, although foreclosure does take a really, really long time. So
it would have taken a long time.
Who knows how long it would have taken.
He would have had plenty of warning.
Yeah.
And he probably would have killed him.
He very well may have.
Yeah.
He
would have killed him and then gotten rid of the bodies during foreclosure and moved out of there. He wasn't going to let him live. What was weird is that he had a kid with one of them. I don't know how he was going to resolve that.
Do you know what he did with that? Because, like I said, he had a daughter with Jocelyn. Well, he raped her, and Amanda Berry had a daughter. And what he would do was he was apparently super proud of this kid. He had pictures of the kid and the phone and everything. He would even go around to his family members and say that it was his girlfriend's kid.
All right.
Even though some of his relatives were like, man, that looks just like your sister, or that looks just like a relative. They were saying, they were remarking on the resemblance because it was his kid.
Right.
But he was saying, no, that's, it's my girlfriend's kid. That's what he would tell people. So he did like say, like call the kid like his granddaughter, which she technically was, but he didn't say like where exactly she'd come from, which that's really fucked up.
Well, he couldn't say because they'd want to meet the mom.
Yeah.
So,
I know. It's like, what did he say? So this is my girlfriend's daughter, but he's like, where your girlfriend? Well, she lives in Canada. You don't know her. Like, did he pull that kind of crap?
I don't know. Probably like, well, she's at work or something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I don't know. I don't really get it. But yeah, so like I said, Michelle Knight was the first one to disappear. Now, she was, this was August 23rd, 2002. She had been over at her cousin's house. And she was going, like I said, she was going to a court hearing about the custody of her son, Joey. And I guess she was walking down the street and she was offered a ride by Ariel Castro. Now, like I said, she knew him. So, I mean, she didn't like know him, but it's like, you know, it was like a friend of, or her friend's dad or something like that. So it wasn't like completely weird. So he said he was going to give her a ride, you know, to the court or wherever she was going. And he's like, oh, well, you know, he does that thing where, oh, I got to stop by the house first and blah, blah, blah. And she didn't really think that much about it. But as soon as she got inside the house, he basically like fucking beat her, tied her up. And she was fucking stuck there. Now, as I said, because she was 21 years old when she vanished, and because there had been some issues with, you know, her son being taken away and her family misperceiving that she might have wanted to get away because of that, they did kind of look for her at first. You know, they put her in the missing persons registry. They did this, that, and the other. But it really did kind of seem like, you know, they weren't really looking for her all that hard because she was an adult. And after 18 months, you know, in 2003, they actually quietly took her off of the missing persons database because I guess they assumed she had run off and was living a life somewhere. It should be noted, interestingly, that after the three girls were rescued, Michelle Knight changed her name, and she absolutely refused to have anything to do with her family after that. So she was not happy about it.
Well, but she knew more about it than we do.
That's what and in a way, like, I'm glad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if there was a reason, there had to have been a reason. Mm-hmm. And if she decided, she's like, I don't want this toxic bullshit in my life, because maybe that's what her family was, you know, maybe there was like some abuse going on. I don't know. But she basically was like, I don't want any more of that fucking shit in my life. And she just like said, fuck off. And she didn't want to see them anymore, which, you know, good for her. And like I said, I saw an interview with her that came out a couple of years ago, and she seems like a really lovely, like well-adjusted person now. So evidently it seems that she made the right decision. So the next one to disappear was Amanda Berry. Now, she disappeared on April 21st, 2003. This was the day before her 17th birthday. Now, she had been working. She worked at Burger King. And she was supposed to get a ride home from a friend, but apparently she called this friend and the friend did not pick up or didn't answer. So she just said, well, fuck it. And she just started walking home because it wasn't that far. At which point, Ariel Castro pulls up in the car. Like I said, she kind of recognized him. She had seen him around town, and he was in a car with somebody that she kind of knew. So it really didn't seem all that nefarious. So she got in the car with him as well, and he took her to the house and subsequently locked her in there. Now, again, just like in the case of Michelle Knight, the cops initially thought, well, she's just a runaway. Was she upset about something? Blah, blah, blah. And they kind of, for about a week after she disappeared, they were coming at it from that angle, even though her parents were insisting. It's like, look, she wouldn't do that. It's like she was looking forward to her birthday. You know, she was a normal person. It's like she wouldn't have, she had never run away before. So, you know, the cops, you know how they are. It's just like, oh, you know how teenagers do. She just ran away, blah, blah, blah. But then a week after she disappeared, Ariel Castro called her mother on Amanda's cell phone and said, I have Amanda. She's fine and will be coming home in a couple of days. At which point the cops were like, oh, I guess she was kidnapped. Duh. So, you know what I mean? So yeah. So then and like I said, it feels like they didn't initially connect her case with the Michelle Knight case, Because the thing about when Amanda Berry disappeared, her family were very, very vocal about coming out. And I mean, they plastered her face all over everything. They just like went at it, and they were just like really trying to find her. So I feel like Michelle kind of got lost in the shuffle because they didn't connect the two. You know what I mean? They were still looking at that as a runaway. And like I said, Amanda Berry's family were a lot more, I guess, proactive in looking for her and keeping her name in the media, so everybody would know, keeping news about her alive. Now, sadly, there was this guy that was kind of a false lead that came out in 2012. This was like a year or so before they were rescued. This guy named Robert Walford, and he was in prison, and he had lived in that same neighborhood of Cleveland where the girls had disappeared. And he came forward to the cops and said that he knew where Amanda Berry's body was. So they let him out of prison, they didn't let him out, but they said, okay, show us where it is. He led them to an empty lot in Cleveland, and the cops spent however long they spent like searching around. And of course she was not there because she was still alive.
He just wanted a day out of prison.
He just wanted to get out of prison, basically, is what he wanted to do. Maybe he did used to live in that neighborhood, and he thought, hey, here's a way I can get a day out of jail, Or
maybe he's like, I bet I know where they dumped her.
It could have been that too. Maybe he was genuinely trying to help. Yeah. I don't know. But I mean, I doubt it, but it could be. I don't really know, because obviously she was not dead.
Yeah. He just wanted to get out that day.
Yeah, and he did. He just wanted to get out, and he was hoping they'd buy him some McDonald's. Just like fucking Charles Ramsey. So he actually did get in trouble for doing that, because so he got 4.5 years like added onto a sentence for obstruction of justice.
Oh shit! Another 4 on top.
So of that. Yeah, they were like, yeah, I hope you enjoyed that day out. It'll be your last one for a while.
Wasn't worth another 4 years.
No, I guess not. Well, should have thought about that before you did it. I'm just saying. The next girl to disappear was Gina DeJesus. Now, she was only, I shouldn't mention, Amanda Berry was 17 when she disappeared. She was almost 17. Gina DeJesus was only 14. She was last seen standing at a payphone at around 3 p.m. She was walking home from middle school. This was on April 2nd, 2004. Now, she was actually very good friends with Ariel Castro's daughter, Arlene. And in fact, the two of them had been hanging out on this particular day. And Arlene was supposed to go over to Gina's house for a sleepover, but Arlene's mom, who was, Ariel's ex-wife, who like had gotten beat up by him, was like, no, we have other things to do or whatever. So wouldn't let her have a sleepover. So they, so Arlene goes back to her house, and Gina starts walking back toward her house. And that is when Ariel picked her up. Like I said, this was not weird. She wasn't getting into a car with a stranger. She had just been hanging out with the dude's daughter. Yeah. That was like they were like best friends. So she's like, oh, it's Ariel. It's Arlene's dad. It's fine.
It's weird.
Yeah. How'd that turn out? See, well, you can't trust anybody, man. I'm telling you. So
it was a one-off.
Well, he said, and I don't know.
No, the chances of that happening to a person are very, very
I know
slim.
It is slim, but it's very, like, you know what I mean? It's like, but you never, the scary thing is you never know which one it's going to be. It's like, you might do that 100 times and it's fine, but then like it only takes one time for it not to be fine. You know what I mean? All it takes is one crazy person. But yeah, so so I kind of like lost what my train of thought was. Oh, okay. So she gets in the car. Now, nobody really thought to, again, they kind of considered it as a runaway case. So they didn't issue an Amber Alert for her because no one had seen her get taken or nobody saw anything weird, obviously, because it was like middle of the afternoon. And her dad was like really kind of upset about that because he was like, look, it's like,
yeah, see, that's odd shit. It has something to do with that area. And fucking, somebody in the comments section said that this area is a shitty area. That's
it looks like a shitty area, kind of. Area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was shittier then or if it's shittier now than it was then, or I don't know. But because, like I said,
probably has a very overworked police force.
It could be.
And there's a lot of troubled kids, and they're always running away and doing stupid shit. So to them, it's just another one of those.
So it's just another one.
It's just another one,
which is sad because it's like, even if in 85% of cases that's what it is, there's always that 15% of the cases where, because if you have a population of troubled youth like that, you're going to get people that are preying on that exact demographic. So
yeah, but most of them don't come up dead. It's rare.
True.
And if they do come up dead, it's other little kids that killed them. You know what I mean? I don't know if you mean other little kids, but other teenagers killed them over stupid shit. It's not some kind of serial killer.
Yeah. Well,
that's why you hear about it when it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to tell myself that because it's like, I write about true crime. So it's like I'm up to my eyeballs in true crime like all the time. So you really do have to kind of step back and go, as horrible as a lot of these cases are, they're rare. And that's why we're interested in them. And that's why we hear about them all the time, is because it's unusual. It doesn't happen every day. And I'm not saying that it couldn't happen to any one of us tomorrow, like if we're particularly unlucky. And I've written about some really horrifying cases where it's just somebody like walking down the street minding their own beeswax and somebody jumps out of the fucking bushes and like stabs them and shit. But you can't live your whole life worrying about that because it's very, very, very unlikely that it's going to happen. It could happen, and I hope it doesn't, but it's statistically very unlikely. I would be more worried about getting hit by a car or getting in a car accident, which is a lot more likely than getting killed by just a random psycho.
Car accidents, motorcycle accidents.
Yeah, I would be a lot more worried about that because that is monumentally more likely to happen.
And then just shit like organ failure, disease, that gets a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking about like really scary. I'm not saying heart attacks and stuff like that isn't scary, but usually when people think about, like, I'm talking about like violence, like shit that's like, violence happening to you. I think it's much more likely that you're going to get like in a car.
And a lot of it depends on what your zip code is, where you're living.
Well, yeah, obviously, because obviously some neighborhoods are much safer than others.
Some whole cities are collapsing. Like some of these cases that we covered in the past, remember there'd be like 2 or 3 serial killers working in one city. And it was because, a bunch of roads, interstates go through that city. And then that city's economy is collapsing and the population is collapsing. So it's leaving behind a lot of low income people. And some of them are kind of like parasites feeding off like a maggot feeding off a dying body.
Well, a lot of times too, when you have like transient populations, there are people that don't stay there for very long and stuff like that. Like I said, you saw that a lot like during like the hippie era, like in California, because there were a lot of people wanting to go to California because of like the movies and it was warm and everything like that. So you had like a lot of young people cycling through there that didn't necessarily have any family or any roots in the area, and you had people following them, like preying on that population.
Some people are like, they're only preying on the prostitutes, though. Well, they're prostitutes because the economy fucking dried up.
That's what I mean.
And it affected their families. And then, you know what I mean? And they were kids that fell to drugs because the income was gone. And in order to get the drugs, they had to fucking resort to prostitution. That whole area is fucking collapsing, and they're in like an apocalyptic situation. And they never would have died had that economy not collapsed. It's shit like that.
And I kind of hate that I hate the way like serial killers that primarily target sex workers say. I mean, I feel like they don't get as much attention unless they kill a shit ton of them, like the Green River Killer or something like that. I feel like serial killers that killed, pretty young white girls, like college students or, good girls or guys, I feel like they get a lot more. Because it's sad, but people like feel like a lot more sympathy for, like I said, somebody that was just like a college student or were just going about their day. I guess because you can relate to people more like that because they're more like you, I suppose. But you have to think that, people that are sex workers, most of them didn't want to do that. You know what I mean? It's not like that was their fucking career goal when they were a kid. It's like they ended up in that situation. Probably for shitty reasons.
The crowd's reminding me that I need to refill that drink.
Are you going to refill it?
Oh man, look at that. That's just.
Oh my God, look how low it is already, and it's only been 45 minutes.
That's good for conversation though. It's waking me up.
Is it? You going to go get one?
Waking up, yeah.
Yeah, no one cares about the less dead people of color and sex workers. It's true, and it's like it's really, really sad. And I feel like that's kind of, I kind of got a little bit of that vibe, like thinking about the Ariel Castro case and watching a lot of the documentaries about it. is that Amanda Berry and Gina DeJesus got a lot more attention than Michelle Knight did, and some of that might be attributable to, the latter two girls' parents being more involved in their lives, being more worried about them, I guess, and like having more resources at hand to like, go talk to the media, like put up more posters and things like that. Whereas Michelle Knight's family seemed a little more like laissez-faire about where she went to. So she just kind of got shuffled on. And the fact, when they found all three girls, it's like no one even remembered. Like everybody knew who Amanda Berry was. Everybody knew who Gina DeJesus was because they'd been all over the news. But then they were kind of like, oh, and there's this other girl in here named Michelle Knight. And nobody remembered that she had been a missing person or anything like that because they just assumed that she had been a runaway. And that kind of bummed me out. But like I said, I saw a recent interview with her and she seems like, a really a wonderful person. And she really seems to have like gotten her shit together. And I just feel bad that like she seemed to kind of get, and some of it might have been on her too, because I think she didn't really want to talk to the press at first. Like the other two kind of were more willing to come out and talk to the media and stuff. And she took a little while longer. So, but I don't know. So it does kind of bother me that when, serial killers that just go after prostitutes, they tend to get, look at something like the Long Island serial killer and, people like that target like Craigslist escorts and whatnot. I feel like there is definitely an element of like victim blaming in there. It's like, well, you shouldn't have been doing that and you shouldn't be a sex worker. You shouldn't be an escort on Craigslist. And that's what you get. And I do feel like there's a little bit of that.
Just a little bit. But I wouldn't say much because they all get the same arrest credits. The police and the fucking prosecutors they get the same credits for the convictions. What it is this they're harder to catch. They're harder to catch because because they see so many guys a day. Yeah. And there's no personal connection between, and like I said, even if the victims aren't sex workers, it's always harder to catch a serial killer that targets people that are not related to them. You got to look at it from don't have a connection. You got to look at it from the point of view of the investigator. They come at him and they say, this prostitute got killed. He goes, oh shit. Because he already knows it's a tough case. Yeah. Because they're seeing maybe 20 dudes a day. And it could be any one of them. And there's no records. Right. And then you go, here's another one. And he goes, oh, shit. And then here's another one. Oh, shit. So he knows it's a serial killer. But there's no way of tracking who it is that's seeing these girls. See, that's why in another way, I think that legalizing it would make it so much safer. It would make it so much safer. Because there'd be records. You wouldn't have like this whole underground economy, where if something terrible happens to you, you would have recourse. You're not doing anything illegal yourself. So you can actually go to the cops and go, hey, this guy beat me up or this guy tried to kill me, and they can do something about it. It's another conversation. I believe that they ought to legalize that. Yeah. But you have to look at the places where it's legal in the United States, how it's run. Brothels are usually run as prisons. The girls have to stay there. They can't leave. It's kind of inhuman. Yeah, obviously that's not cool. Well, you know why they do that? They do it because they usually have drug problems. Yeah. So the brothels don't want them leaving and fucking not coming back. Right. Or leaving and getting in trouble because they're fucking drug problems. They don't show back up for work. Yeah. So they kind of like have them in protective custody partially. Yeah. They're all drug addicts around here. Now they shouldn't be. Yeah. But that's who usually falls into that work. Or if they're not into it previously, they'll get into it after. Yeah. Now here's another thing. Oh, I wanted to say thank you to DJ Maniac. Look at all them flash bulbs. Let me see them flash bulbs. Yes, indeed. Just before we got too far. I'm getting far out of the way. Let me see. Yeah, Long Island serial killer. We did a show about that like quite a while ago. There's actually a movie. I think it's on Netflix. We reviewed the movie as well. I think it's called Lost Girls, and it's kind of like a fictionalization, at least of one of the. I was going to say something about legalized prostitution. Yeah, I think it should be legal, okay, and regulated. Yeah, just only like thing is that I'm American, right? And I understand American mentality. What they would do is they would corporatize it. Yeah, and then they would start opening up franchises. Yeah, like and then Starbucks of and then they would start recruiting girls from a young age. And to make it a damn industry. And then the next thing you know, and I've never had any children. I'm not a father, but here I am as a father of fucking daughters. You know what I mean? And they're being enticed by $80,000 or $90,000 a year career as a fucking corporate prostitute in a fucking chain of fucking brothels. And then you got to ask yourself, what kind of society is this where you start making women a fucking physical commodity? It's just, you know what I mean? It's
there's no happy solution because it's like if you keep it illegal,
right? Then it gets
it's like then it's dangerous.
If you legalize it in an American sense, the Americans would corporatize it.
Yeah,
fucking make.
That's what I mean. It's like neither one of those options are good, right. But I think I would err on the side of like them not getting beat up and murdered.
I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with me? Would the American the fuck out of that shit and put it on roids? And make
Probably.
it yes, it would be like the AMC theater chain. That's what it
well,
would be like.
I mean, just look at we do have legalized brothels in parts of Nevada.
Yeah, but like I said, they're kind of like prisons.
Yeah,
where they're not allowed out. But like
it's weird because I'm all for like if somebody wants to do that, that is completely their prerogative. I wouldn't do it. It doesn't sound like a good time, but I understand that there are people that would choose to do that, and I don't have a problem with that. And I don't know, but like you said, I think having it be illegal is just way more dangerous for the women. It probably wouldn't be great if it was legal either, but I think it would be better than it being illegal and them not having any recourse, like I said, when they get beat up or raped or murdered. I feel like it would be much better because then you could get, you'd have resources, you'd have records, you'd know like who their clients were, you'd have people watching out for them.
Is they ought to make laws to where if it's legalized, the size of those businesses has to be fucking managed and controlled.
Yeah. Yeah, so it would have to be heavily regulated, sure.
So they just don't become goddamn fucking prostitution empires. You know what I mean? Because I would just think that you'd have a whole fucking corporate trade of human flesh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There'd have to be some kind of checks where they would be nothing but small businesses. Like you make it so they cannot become incorporated.
Yeah, so they can't be over a certain size.
You make it so they can't have that they can only be that each owner of the business can only have a maximum number of fucking people working for them. That kind of shit.
Yeah, they could put caps on it. Right. I mean, they could do that easily.
That's how I would run it.
You'd have to work all the kinks out and everything. But yeah, I mean, and not only would benefit the women too, because like I said, they'd have protection, they would have health screenings, they would have, somebody watching their back, like to make sure that like fucking creeps and weirdos weren't, coming in there and shit. But yeah, so I don't even remember how we got off on that discussion. We were talking about that's like how we always do.
That's how we made all them damn flashbacks going off topic.
I mean, it's kind of a similar topic.
Yeah, it's about what,
Because I was kind of talking about when you were going to get a drink, I was talking about how Michelle Knight got a little bit of the short end of the stick just because, she kind of came from a troubled family and she had run away from home before and, all the stuff about her kids. So I think people, didn't respond to her the same way that they responded to the other two victims maybe. And that's like kind of a shame. So after Gina DeJesus was taken, about a year later, somebody came forward and they had like a composite sketch of the suspect. Now I've seen the composite sketch. It looks like Ariel Castro if he was like skinny and if his head was stretched this way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It
kind of looks like him, but not. The description was Latino, which is correct. 25 to 35 years of age, 5'10", 165 to 185 pounds, with green eyes, a goatee, and possibly a pencil-thin beard.
Yeah.
Now, he was actually 5'7", so a little shorter. He was 179 pounds, so yeah, got the weight right. His eyes were brown, actually, not green. But he did have a goatee. So it was kind of like me 50-50. Like I said, the sketch kind of looks like him, but he's a lot pudgier than the sketch would have you believe.
Got somebody in New Zealand saying that it's legal in New Zealand, but he doesn't know what it'd be like, the United States, because he doesn't, because not U.S.
Yeah, well, it's legal and it's legal in the Netherlands. It's legal in a lot of places.
If the United States got a hold of that nationwide,
we'd fuck it up. We'd fuck everything.
Yeah,
up.
we would put.
I'm sorry,
we would put truck nuts on that. We would put truck nuts on there.
Please refer back to our truck nuts discussion on our Italian cereal.
America tends to add testosterone and steroids to everything that it fucking does.
And a nice little frosting of stupidity.
Yeah, and it takes it over the fucking top. If you can make money with it, why not make more? And if you can make more, why don't you make all the fucking money with it? That's what they would do. They would corporatize it.
Yeah. We would fuck it up. He says it's legal in Germany, legal in Greece. Yeah, I was under the impression that it was legal or at least decriminalized in most European countries, I thought. Yeah.
But like I said, there's no Americans over there. We would have fucking chains, a whole corporation, a whole chain of those damn brothels.
There would be prostitution drive-throughs.
There would be like a Zuckerberg of fucking hookers.
You would drive through just like McDonald's, and there'd be a big sign, and they'd have all the girls' pictures on there.
Yeah, you'd be like a drive-through,
and they would throw them out the window.
You could get like a blowjob in a drive-through. You could fucking do all kinds of shit.
We have drive-through liquor stores for Christ's sake.
It'd be crazy. It would be fucking crazy, and they would have specials. They would do everything.
Yeah, I could see that.
It would be like Starbucks. It'd be like a cross between Starbucks and AMC Theater. And then they'd want to put one every fucking where. And then a motherfucker would want to make a vending machine version of it. Okay? Where it's a girl standing in a damn box. That's what they would fucking do.
And make her climb out of that little slot.
Yeah.
She's like, God damn it.
Yeah. You don't understand.
I hate this job.
America will pervert everything. Like our corporations are communist.
We mess everything up.
Because they know in communism and Marxism, and Europeans think, well, if it's Marxist or if it's communist, then the state can take control of all this evil corporations and all this evil capitalism, because the state becomes the producer of all the fucking production, the center of production. The American interpretation of that would be the merger of the state and fucking production, which would mean business taking over the state. That would mean the corporation would be the government. The government would not become the corporation. The corporations would become the government. So that's it. Just look at the Rockefeller Foundation. That's what that was all about.
Melissa says Denny's with a side order of ass.
Yeah. Yeah. Americans have no fucking shame, man. None. It's like something out of fucking Idiocracy.
Yeah.
Go watch that movie, Idiocracy. That's the way the United States is. That's not a joke. That's a documentary.
I know. It's really
That's a fucking documentary.
It's not exaggerated.
Not exaggerated at all. That's exactly what you're doing.
Hey, some of us are smart.
Yeah. Not that smart, though.
We can't help it. We can't help it.
It's the environment here. Yeah. It's a very different culture. It's a very, what's a good way to put it? It's a very expressive culture. All right.
I suppose.
It's a very expressive culture. It's very different from Korea. I live in Korea. All right. There is only one culture that's more wild than America. Brazil. I grew up in Brazil, too, as a young kid. You better pray that Brazil does not get money. If they get money, you're fucked. And they're trying to make it. Brazil is fucking crazy. I love Brazil, though, but that's why I'm crazy, because I grew up there. But fucking Brazil's fucking crazy. It explains a lot about you. Brazil is feral, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, sorry. This made me laugh. DJ Maniac says, how many times have I seen positions available on the signboard outside of McDonald's and not said, I'll take a 69 to go? That's exactly what it would be like. That's exactly what it would be like. Now I'm just like cracking up. All right. So in 2004.
They say I'm a legend for mental badger said I'm a legend for the vending machine aspect. I invented that shit myself. I just invented that.
We'll get
somewhere is going to be some pimps trying to come up with that.
Where you can just like, it'll be like an automat where you can just like go in and put some like fucking, go in there with your little smartphone and like swipe it. And then
they say I'm buzzing. Of course I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took you a while.
As soon as I get a buzz on, I start fucking ranting. That's how it's going to happen.
He starts going like
corporate. Yeah. Xanada says Mussolini described fascism as a merger of the state and corporation. Yeah, true. But You could say the Soviet Union was like that too. The Soviet Union became a corporation, but if it were to happen in the United States, it would be like something you see out of Aliens or Prometheus, where you'd have Wayland Industries. You just have these corporations fucking calling the shots, which I think they kind of already do anyway.
Well,
now.
yeah, obviously.
They're the ones that are buying all these damn all these politicians. They're not working for us. They're working for these corporations. The military industrial complex and the corporations.
I mean, nobody's working for me.
Nobody's working for us.
Oh, well, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So 2004, America's Most Wanted did a segment on Amanda Berry and Gina DeJesus. Like I said, they forgot about poor Michelle Knight because she was not considered a missing person by this point. They also were on the Oprah Winfrey Show and the Montel Williams Show. Now, on the Montel Williams Show, and this is why psychics piss me off, especially like these fucking TV psychics. So remember that bitch, Sylvia Brown? I think she's dead now.
Yeah, I remember her.
Hopefully.
I remember.
So she was on the Montel Williams Show.
I remember that show.
And they were I think I remember this too. And they were asking her, like Amanda Berry's mom was on the show, and they were asking Sylvia Brown about her. And Sylvia Brown told Amanda Berry's mom, Luana Miller, that Amanda Berry was dead. So isn't that nice? And the mom believed it.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it's like, she was like so upset. And she like, she gave some of her stuff away. She took all the pictures down because she had been like, kind of hoping that she was still alive, but she actually believed what this horrible witch told her. And the sad thing was that Amanda Berry's mom died before they got rescued. So that makes me so sad.
I remember her, man. She was just a fucking hack psychic. She said all kinds of fucking crazy shit. And she was on all the daytime fucking talk shows. She was all over the place. She was on fucking Geraldo. She sucked. I don't understand like why. I mean, she had a good stage presence. She had some gravitas, and she was a persona of the times. I mean, I think she went all the way back to the 80s. If I remember correctly.
She was on all those fucking daytime shows, man. And I remember her.
They kind of made her a star just by putting her on a lot. But none of her predictions ever proved to be true. They were all just fucking vague shit. Oh, I'm seeing your dead loved one. And it's just fucking poetry.
And it's like all she ever said, and she said this in the Amanda Berry case. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. And I feel like, whenever they asked her about this kind of shit, she always said the same thing. It's like, oh, they're dead. Yeah. And they always said they're in water. Gee, that's helpful. Mm-hmm. There's only lakes and rivers and fucking groundwater and shit like everywhere in the world. Water. Yeah. The planet's only 3/4 water. How'd you guess that?
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's just like, it makes me so fucking bad. Yeah. Well, it's just like all of these psychics, and
she's laying down.
Yeah. And the thing about this, you can tell, one, in water, like I said, that could be anywhere. Two, it's really shitty that she told the mom that Amanda Berry was dead. But you have to say she's a psychic, and they play the statistics. They know what is most likely. Most of the time, when a girl that age is kidnapped, most of the time they are dead. So she knew that, and that's why she said that, because she's probably like, well, that's what's most likely. They stick with like what's most likely, because then that's more likely for them to get a hit. You know what I mean? They know like statistics and stuff. I don't know if they do it like deliberately, but they know what's more common to happen. And they know that that's what they will say, because then if it's right, then everybody will think they're fucking psychic. That's how that shit works.
Yep.
But in this case, she was completely and totally wrong. But the sad thing, like I said, so I guess her mom died like thinking that Amanda was dead, because she died in 2006, like 7 years before they found her.
Terrible.
So, I mean, like I said, you can't blame the parents for thinking that, because like I said, 9 times out of 10, when your kid is kidnapped, they're usually killed right away. I mean, almost always.
That's why they're saying that.
So it's so it's very, very unusual to find them, especially that length of time later. But it's just sad that the mom never knew that she was alive that whole time. And she wasn't even that far away. I mean, she was pretty much in the same neighborhood.
So we almost get to the part where he gets captured?
Yeah, sort of.
Okay.
All right.
How much time? How long have we been streaming for?
It's right up here. What did you do?
I can't see it on my glasses.
Burping in my face.
Yeah, burping. I can't see it. Where's it going? What is it?
It's like all I can smell is tequila burps.
Tequila burps?
In my face.
That's 104. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, it's right there. It's an hour 4. So yeah, another shitty thing too is that, so like I said, the Berry family and the DeJesus family, they had like all these vigils and they were like always on the news and shit like that. They did a bunch of searches. Now Ariel Castro was apparently in some of these search parties, and he had a son named Anthony who was a journalism student, and Anthony interviewed Gina's mom, like for a newspaper article, like about the disappearance of her daughter. And his dad was the one that fucking took her. And he would be like, he kind of got off on being in the search party, like talking to their parents. Oh, I wonder where they are, blah, blah, blah. He like got off on that kind of shit. And another thing that he would do too was that he would bring the girls like flyers and stuff like that, like missing flyers with their picture on it, because he thought it was funny to like taunt them that their parents were looking for them and didn't know where they were.
Damn.
Yeah, he was just like a fucking monster. Just like everybody on this show that we're talking about, like all of the perpetrators of these were just fucking monsters.
Yeah, he was getting his ass kicked though when he got to jail.
Well, he wasn't even in jail that long. He fucking killed himself like
I know
a
that.
pussy.
But that's because he knew.
You know what I mean?
They knew
he made those girls, he locked those girls up in the house for 10, 11 years. He couldn't even stand 1 month in prison, and he hanged himself.
Those dudes were going to fuck him up. That's why he did that.
Fucking typical.
Yeah. She couldn't take it. He could dish it out, but he couldn't take it.
Exactly. That just like makes me so mad. So yeah, Michelle Knight, like I said, she was the first one taken, and she seems to have gotten like the shittiest. I'm not saying that it's not like a competition or anything, because everybody got it shitty, but she kind of got the shittiest treatment. I think like he beat her up a bunch of times. He basically tied her hands and feet together. He would like starve her for several days at a time. He would rape them pretty much every day. Like I said, Michelle Knight got pregnant at least 5 times, and it was always like induced miscarriages. He would hit her in the stomach with barbells, shit like that. Now they all 3 girls like kind of bonded over their shared, situation. And they wrote in journals. Amanda Berry said that she kept track of every single time that he raped her. Like she would write it down in there, because she's just like, I wanted to keep a record of it.
Jeez.
So like later on, I don't blame her.
Yeah.
Like I said, she seemed, and all of the girls are like amazingly well adjusted. I don't know if I would have come out of that situation as poised as they seem to be. I don't know. I don't know if I would have. You know what I'm saying? Why are you looking at me like that?
Oh, no, I'm not looking at you that way. I'm just going, yeah. What can I say about it? I said, motherfucker was an asshole.
Yeah. So they basically, when he remembered to feed them, he would only feed them 1 time a day. He only let them take a shower like maybe once or twice a week. They just had plastic buckets in the corners of their rooms, and they weren't emptied every day. So that's nice.
Yeah. He said I'm in stealth mode.
You're in stealth mode?
I'm getting ready to go get
You gonna go get Dennis?
I'm gonna go get Dennis.
Is Dennis gonna
get Dennis?
Gonna weigh in on this bullshit right here?
Yeah.
What do you think about this shithead, Dennis?
First of all, you gotta understand something.
This is somebody, right? This is somebody you could hang out with. This is somebody that's like has some similar predilections to.
Well, I was never really the kind of guy to keep a woman around, and I mean, my appetite was insatiable. And I ran through them pretty quick, like a man does. I'd get them and kill them and position them and take pictures of them, and I did my thing, I jerked off a little bit, but it's just something a man does,
They would get upset.
They get kind of upset, but keeping them around, I don't understand how a man wouldn't get bored. I mean, a woman is only so much. I just really can't. I don't really relate, Jenny.
Okay, I can see that.
I guess some men have feelings. I don't really understand it. Compared to me, I mean, what could a woman really be? I mean,
well, none of us with ovaries can ever live up to the awesomeness of you, Dennis.
No, of course not. Of course
yeah,
not. I'm glad that you recognize that.
Why would we even try? Like, well, I get it. I get it.
I can understand a woman might have an overinflated sense of self-worth. And that's they do that sometimes. It's estrogen. Estrogen that does that.
Yeah.
It makes them sensitive.
We're very
but
sensitive.
Whenever, women are just not that interesting to keep them around for 10 years. I'm sorry.
I knew you'd have some insight into this case.
I gotta sit down now. I've spoken too much.
I like how you hold him up to the microphone.
Oh, yeah. He's got something he's got to say. I gotta let Tom take back over now. You okay, buddy? Yeah, I'm all right. Okay, fine.
Dennis checking on your welfare. That was what, like, you're gonna make me choke to death.
Dennis may not be a good man, but he's a thoughtful man. You know what I mean?
Sure.
He looks out for a brother.
Okay, mm-hmm. I got it.
He was never really a big drinker, so he can't really relate. He keeps warning me, you know. I told you, Tom, that shit's going to take its toll.
You need Jesus.
Yeah, Tom, you need Jesus. Of course. I know some really good churches and good pastor. You might need to talk to somebody. We need to take care of your eternal soul. Men have those, you know.
I don't have one of those. Thank you very much, Matt.
Let me see them flash bulbs.
Shit. All right. So where was I? Okay. So like I said, Michelle Knight had up to 5 miscarriages. Yeah. Also ended up losing her hearing in one ear. I believe she had some vision problems as well from him beating her. She needed facial reconstruction surgery when she got out. Had some nerve damage. Also, she said that for a little while, she had... thank you, Nile. She had a...
Thank you.
She had a...
I'd like to thank everybody. You know, Tom, you see, you need to have me on more often, you know. They're sending you what you call those flash bulbs.
I thought you were going to put him down and his little head was going to show. That'd be funny. Now,
yeah. You're a millionaire, Tom.
Oh, man.
Let me see them flash bulbs. Let me see them flash bulbs.
Thank you again.
See them flash bulbs.
It is Saturday. We're having a good time.
Yeah.
Even though these are terrible, terrible cases. That
just getting warmed up.
Yeah, we are. Warmed up. I know. It's like I'm still only on the first case. Shit.
I know. I'm gonna have to make you take a break.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Because you feel you're okay.
Yeah, I got.
Because we got 2 more cases. It's gonna be a long show, guys.
Yeah, that's all right.
Hope you guys are ready for this shit. This shit's gonna push 3 hours. I told you we should have only done 2. We're spoiling them.
By the time I get to the end, I'll probably just be like,
we're spoiling these people. 3-hour show. We're gonna be taking breaks during the show, people. So go ahead and get ready for that.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to take both of us breaks at the same time. We're
but
just
yeah,
gonna, like, if one of us has to go to the bathroom,
if I can use the restroom or whatever.
Go find the kitty. I don't know.
Check on cats.
Yeah. So Michelle also said that for a little while she was trapped in the house, she had a little dog for a pet, and Ariel, I guess, like, he was trying to get at Michelle, and the dog bit him. Good dog. But then Ariel broke the dog's neck.
Yeah, that motherfucker needed to die.
So again, like I said, it's bad enough. Look, you keep 3 women prisoner for 10 years. That's enough. But even if he hadn't done that, if you had just snapped a dog's neck, you need just to go to prison for that. Even before you even do any of that other shit. That's just putting a cherry on top of the shit.
No sense in hurting any kind of damn domestic animal.
Why would you do that?
Unless you're going to eat it. But you don't eat dogs.
No. Yeah. So Christmas Day, 2006, like I said, Amanda Berry had gotten pregnant. And for whatever reason, I guess because Amanda Berry, she was treated horribly, obviously, but I think she was treated a little bit better than Michelle Knight, because I think Ariel... I don't know. I think he called her wifey. So I think she was like his favorite.
Right.
So she was pregnant, and she was going to give birth on Christmas Day of 2006. And Ariel, basically, he got like this blow up kiddie pool and like brought it in this so she could give birth in the pool so that it wouldn't get, blood and crap everywhere. And he told Michelle you have to assist with the birth, and if the kid dies, I'm going to kill you.
Damn.
So as it happened, because they're giving birth,
indeed.
thank you very much, Melissa. The cult of Pookie startup money. Pookie needs her own cult. She would like that, I think.
I'd like to thank you, Melissa. I'd also like to get to know you a little bit better.
Uh-oh.
Would you like to meet me at church?
Are you gonna bring like rope and shit?
Yeah.
Watch out.
A mask. We'll bring a lady's mask.
Yikes.
And my Merry Widow and my fucking garter belt.
Oh no. Yeah. So as it happened, because this poor young woman, Amanda, was giving birth in this fucking shitty house in captivity, the baby actually did stop breathing. But Michelle was actually able to revive the girl, and the little girl lived.
Damn.
So,
with no training.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. These girls are like fucking heroes, man. Yeah. Seriously. I don't know. It just blows my mind. I don't know. I don't know how they fucking live through this shit. So as I said previously, Ariel Castro was like super proud of this kid and like totally went around saying that it was like his granddaughter, even though he said that it was like not related to him but like it was his girlfriend's kid. So he had pictures of her in the phone and everything. Damn. And apparently he kind of gave the kid more freedom, like once she got a little bit older. You know what? One of the saddest things I was watching, like just almost right before we started recording, I was watching an interview with Amanda Berry. And once Jocelyn, the little girl, got a little bit older, she's like, oh, I made her a pretend kindergarten. Like she made her like a little classroom, like in their fucking captivity room. And she's like, so every morning we would get up and I would pretend that I was walking her, like we're walking across the street and here's the green light and here's the red light. Like she would pretend like she was walking her down the street to school. And then she would drop her off like in the corner where the kindergarten stuff was. And then she would pretend that she was someone else, like she was her teacher. Like, cause she wanted her to have like a normal school experience.
That's sad.
Isn't that fucked up? I was like, that broke my heart.
She's probably having that now though.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I kind of hope, because the little girl was 6 when they were rescued. So I kind of hope, I don't remember a lot of shit from when I was 6. So I'm kind of hoping that, you know, she's like has a normal life. Mm-hmm. And like I said, the ones that, you know, the 3 girls that were prisoners.
She's like 10 or 12 now.
Probably. You know, are traumatized, obviously, but they, you know, they seem to have come out of it pretty well, you know, thankfully. So apparently, so here's the thing. So these girls are in the house for 10 years. It's like the cops actually did go to the house at one point, like to talk about something else. It didn't have anything to do with the kidnappings. They never suspected him of that. But he wasn't home, so they didn't like press it. And I guess he got interviewed for it like somewhere else, and like he never got caught. Now, later on, I think after the girls were rescued, like neighbors came forward later and said, hey, we saw some weird shit and we reported it, but there are no records of that. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't report it. I'm just saying that the cops said that there were no records, right, of them reporting any unusual activity. So it's perfectly
little shit they don't
believable that somebody did report like, hey, I saw this weird thing, or I heard like someone screaming, or I heard something, and they just didn't like keep a record of it. I mean, that is totally
because they get a lot of that.
Yeah. So Ariel Castro's son, Anthony, he said that really no one was allowed to go in the house, and that there were parts of the, like, you could just come in like the main part. But it's like, even when Ariel's mom would come over, he'd kind of make her like stay like either on the porch or just like in the front part of the house. Like he wouldn't let anybody go anywhere in the house. And there were like all these places where they weren't supposed to go. And they thought it was weird, but not weird enough that, you know, they thought too much about it. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's easy to say in retrospect, because like, obviously 3 girls were being kept prisoner in there, but
they never would have thought that.
That's what I mean. It wouldn't occur to you because it's like unusual. Somebody asked, cable, telephone, internet repairmen never had to enter the home. I guess not. it's like, I think they did have, like, a couple people did come in there, like technicians and stuff, but I guess they didn't really.
He would have stashed them. He had a place underneath the dam.
Yeah.
You know.
And he probably, and he had them to a point where he's like, I'm just going to put you, if you make any noise, I'll kill you.
He had them pretty well trained towards the middle part of it.
And like I said, and he did like back it up because he would, like I said, he would test them and like he would beat the shit out of them like all the time, and they were terrified of him. So
yeah, and he would kind of hold them hostage over each other. Like, if you fuck up, I'll beat her.
And then once Amanda had a kid, that probably gave him some more leverage, because he said, I'll take your kid away or I'll do something terrible to her. And, you know, no one wanted that to happen.
Yeah, by the time they got caught, he had him pretty much under control. But, you know, like I said, he ran out one day and they fucking made a break for it.
Yeah. Now, the thing about it is that they're not really sure. Like I said, he seemed like after they caught him, like I'll get into that in a minute, but after they caught him, he said he was a sex addict. He said he called himself cold-blooded. He had also, he said that he hadn't really planned to kidnap them. Like it wasn't it wasn't like BTK, like who had the big like projects or whatever, where he would like months and months. I thought he would.
Don't even one second compare me to this.
Oh, I did it.
I'm in a class by myself, Jenny. I'm a class, you know, I stand apart.
Yeah. Yeah. JC Duggar, that was another case I wanted to do. That was like a similar kind of case to this, where she was in the house, I think, for 18 years. So that's going to be like when we do a volume 2, I'll do that one. But yeah, so Ariel was saying that he didn't really plan this ahead. It was just kind of like a crime of opportunity. I guess he had been wanting to, like, especially after his wife left, and I guess he didn't have any women around to beat up on. So I guess when he just like saw a little young woman walking down the street, he's like, hey, I could just take her in my house and chain her up and like beat the shit out of her and get her pregnant. That just seemed, and okay, let's do that. And like, it seemed like he didn't put a great deal of thought into it. And they did say later, like when they interviewed him, that he was fully expecting to get caught at some point, because he wasn't, you know, super secretive about it. And also when they raided his house, they did find a suicide note that he had written. And he said that any money that he had should be given to the girls.
Okay.
Which I thought was very weird.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's like after they caught him, like all the shit that he said at his trial, it's like he seemed like he was kind of apologizing, but then he was like victim blaming. And then he was just kind of like, oh, poor me. I have a sex addiction. I'm addicted to porn. I'm this, that, and the other. So it seemed like he was
full of shit.
Yeah, I definitely think he was full of crap. But he definitely seems like someone who didn't put a great deal of thought into
with this dude. I don't think it was the sex. I think it was the power.
Yeah, I definitely think. I mean, he took advantage because he raped him like pretty much every day. Yeah. But
I don't think that's what the main thing was, though. I think it was he wanted to have power and control over people.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely really liked them. Just, I mean, whatever he wanted, they were just at his whim. They couldn't leave. Yeah. They couldn't do anything they wanted.
No dude's going to do that just for sex.
No, I mean, because that's
it's not efficient.
That's like a whole other fucking level of shit.
Yep.
So finally comes May 6th, 2013. Now, the girls, like I said, are in their respective rooms. They were in several different rooms. At least Amanda and Gina were chained together through the wall, I believe. That's how I understood it from how they were talking about it. And their rooms are all locked up. Amanda was in there with her 6-year-old Jocelyn. Now, Jocelyn was kind of allowed to run around the house sort of loose. You know what I mean? She wasn't locked up or chained up or anything. So apparently she was running around the house, and she came back up and said to Amanda, she said, oh, like daddy or whatever she called Ariel, he's gone. And Amanda like came down the steps and saw that his car wasn't there. And then she was like, and then she saw that the big door was kind of open, like the storm door, the metal one was still closed and locked, but the big door was, and usually he closed it when he left. So she thought that was really odd. And like I said, at first she was kind of scared to do anything because she thought, well, he's just testing us and he's just like around the corner and then he's going to come back and I'm going to get into trouble. But then she like kind of hung out for a couple minutes and she didn't see anything and she didn't hear anything. So then she looked across the street because she could see through the screen door and she saw like a neighbor like sitting out on the porch. So she decided she was just going to fucking go for it. And there was like a little gap in the door, like about that wide. She stuck her arm through it and started waving her arm around and started screaming like for someone to help her. So the first neighbor to come over there was named Angel or Angel Cordero. And he ran over there to see what the problem was. He couldn't speak much English, so he didn't understand what she was saying at first. And then the infamous Charles Ramsey ran over.
He's not infamous.
Well, yeah, it's just in the fact that he became a meme.
Yeah.
Like afterward, just because of his interview, it was like so funny and everything. So he came over, and between him and the other guy, they couldn't get the door open because it was locked, but they ended up like kicking out like a panel, like at the bottom of the storm door. And she crawled out like holding Jocelyn. And she immediately told them, I'm Amanda Berry. And Charles Ramsey said he knew exactly who that was because he'd been all over the news and everything like that. He's like, I couldn't fucking believe it. So then they went over to like another neighbor's house and they called 911. The 911 call has since become also very famous, where she's like, I'm Amanda Berry. I've been a prisoner for 10 years. I'm free now. And then when the cops came, and told them that there are two other girls in the house. Now, when the cops went in the house, apparently Gina DeJesus ran out of the room and jumped right into the cop's arms. It was like, you saved me. Damn. So it's like, what I mean. So it's like the cops couldn't fucking believe it. I mean, they thought that these girls were dead or had run away or something like that. And they'd been in this fucking house for 10 fucking years. And it's just like.
Well, that would make your career if you were a cop.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. So they took them all to the hospital, and Amanda and Gina were pretty much okay. Jocelyn was pretty much okay. They were only there for like a day, and then they were let go. Michelle was actually there for several days because she was in a little bit worse shape. They couldn't. It was funny because I saw like an interview with like one of the nurses or doctors that was there like when they all came in and stuff, and like she just couldn't get over it, like how fucking crazy it was, because everybody. I mean, particularly Amanda Berry, she was probably the most famous one because her parents had, she'd been all over the news and everything. And this nurse, she's like, I just kept looking at her like I couldn't believe like that it was her and she was still alive, because it had been 10 fucking years since she disappeared. Sad thing was, though, it's like when they went in there, because like I said, Ariel didn't come home until later, so he didn't even probably know what was going on, like when they got everybody out of the house. But they were kind of hoping when they went in there, because there had been this other woman who named Ashley Summers. And she had disappeared from Cleveland in July of 2007. And they were kind of hoping that when they found these three girls, that they would find Ashley Summers as well, because they didn't know where the hell she was. However, I am sad to report that they still do not know where she is. She is still missing as of June 2020. So they still don't know where she is. They don't know if she's a runaway, because she did have a fight with her parents. Like that was the last time she was seen. But I don't know where she's been since then. So Castro gets arrested a couple days later, May 6, 2013. Now, they actually initially took two of his brothers into custody because they thought they had something to do with it, but then they determined that they didn't know anything about it, so they let them go. Now, they gave him a plea deal. They said, look, if you plead guilty, because he initially was going to plead not guilty, because he was like coming up with some bullshit like, most of the sex I had with them was consensual. No, most of it. Yeah. I'm like, okay, that's not how that works, but okay. And
but those other 3 or 4, they carry 10 years each.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. It's like just one time. It's like that's not cool. But so he was trying to say that, and then he was talking about how much quote unquote harmony there was in the home and blah blah blah. So he was kind of trying to paint a good thing about it. So he was initially going to plead not guilty, but then they said, look, we'll give you a plea deal. I don't know if Ohio still has the death penalty or not. Maybe he was trying to get out of the death penalty. But basically, he ended up pleading guilty to like 900 something charges of like rape, kidnapping. They gave him aggravated murder because of all the miscarriages that he had caused. So he got like a whole bunch of consecutive life sentences. So it was essentially like 1,000 years in prison with no possibility of parole or anything. And the judge basically said, taking this plea deal, you are never getting out. 1,000 years, no parole, no nothing, no anything. And he said that he understood that. And, but at his hearing, he was saying, porn addiction, he has sexual problems, just like fucking Dennis.
Yeah.
He was also fined $100,000. They took all his property. Like I said, his house was in foreclosure anyway. But
So it wasn't his property.
So it wasn't really his property anymore anyway, because he didn't pay his fucking property taxes. And they ended up tearing it down because everyone was fucking sick of looking at it. So before he got sentenced, he actually stood up there for 20 minutes, kind of trying to mitigate, I guess, somewhat. And he's like saying he was not a monster. He says he's a good person. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you don't know what that phrase means, but okay.
I don't understand why a guy who's done all this kind of shit tries to kiss ass afterwards.
It's like you're going to prison, okay? It's nothing you say now is going to help you.
Why not grimly fiendish on them motherfuckers going, I did it, and I fucking loved it, and I know that you hate it, and fuck y'all. And if you was there, I'd have done it to you too. And you better pray that you don't see me again. Why not?
Well, at that point, you might as well. It's like,
You're getting out of there. You're not getting out of there. You might as well just fucking just...
Well, in a way, it's like more offensive what he did because he doesn't feel bad.
Right.
He doesn't feel bad. He probably does think he's a good person.
I'd have gone out like a G. Fuck you guys. Fuck y'all. I did it just to make y'all suffer. I hate you.
You'd have pulled a Carl Panzer.
Yeah. I hate you.
Holy suck. Whatever that shit that he said before they...
You better hope I don't escape. Coming for you, Judge. I'm coming for you. I just said all kinds of crazy shit.
Like I said,
had me all over television.
Like I said, you might as well because you're not getting out.
I'd make all kinds of angry faces and shit.
Speaking of which, we were watching. That just reminded me of like shit we were talking about last night. We were watching that Gordon Ramsay 24 Hours to Hell and Back show, on Tubi.
Yeah.
And you were particularly laughing at this one expression that Gordon was making.
Yeah.
And he's like, we need to like print that out and like put it in a frame, and then I'm going to put it in my office so that anytime I feel like I'm not like lazy or not getting my work done, I could just look up and have Gordon looking at me sternly and disapprovingly. Yeah,
Gordon can make a face. Can make a face to make you just look like a piece of shit. You fucking piece of shit. It was just a good face, man.
It really was a good face.
I got to go back and look at it and see if I can do it.
I told him, I said, now I'm going to get one of those, long frames that have like 3 or 4 different like slots in it.
Oh, okay. Whoa. Let me see them flash bulbs.
I don't see any flash bulbs. Oh, there we go. Indeed. There we go. Thank you very much, Nelly. Thank you very much. That's awesome. But yeah, so I said I'm gonna get one of those like fucking frames with all the slots in it, and I'm just gonna put a whole bunch of different like Gordon Ramsay expressions in there. Like I'm gonna put one of him like looking at you like, I can't believe you're this stupid. I'm gonna put one of him where it looks like he's yelling and like pointing at you, and it's like then it'll be like motivational. You know what I mean? This will be really funny. So yeah, he says he's a good person, addicted to sex, practiced the art of masturbation from a young age. So that's nice.
It's an art.
Yeah.
So you're trying to say he's a jack off artist.
Yeah.
It's a jack off artist.
There's a right way you got to do.
God damn. That ought to be a job. So what do you do for a living, Mr. I'm a jack off artist. What exactly is a jack off artist? Oh, well, everything. I look around the corner and jack off. I'm looking at you like this. Different ways to jack off on things. Damn.
Trying to get creative with it. You know what I mean? There's art to everything. I'm a genius.
How much does a jack off artist make a year? $125,000. Oh shit.
No, now I'm going to make a movie called The Jack Off Artist. There's probably already a porn movie called that, I'm sure. Probably about this guy. Yeah, he said he never beat or tortured the women, which is bullshit.
You see them flash bulbs.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you very much, Jesse.
And
I do crazy shit and money starts showing up.
I know, right? Good work if you can get
I gotta say some crazy shit more often.
Yeah.
Thing is, I can't invent crazy shit. It's just gotta come from the soul.
Well, like you said, you're channeling it.
You just got to channel it.
So, like I said, another special thing that he said too, other than blaming the girls for getting into a car with a stranger, even though they knew who he was.
They knew who he was, yeah.
Was also that he was also kind of blaming them because he's like, oh, I raped them and discovered that they weren't virgins.
Oh, it's a shame on them, those dirty whores.
Yeah, but what he did was fine.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, of course. It's his duty. It's his duty as a man.
What is with these guys?
Motherfucker's nuts, man. He's fucking crazy.
God damn it.
He's trying to mitigate it, make himself look better, make
That's
them
what
look worse.
Mean. It's like, fuck off.
You're dealing with a fucking psycho.
Yeah. So, happily, like I said, this dude was only in prison for a month, and then he decided to do the world a favor.
That's because them other dudes were like
hang his own ass.
Most of those other dudes were listening to what he did on fucking TV, and then they saw his fucking pussy ass up there fucking moping and crying about being locked up, and they're like, "Bitch, you had them girls locked up for 10 years, and you can't even fucking do a month."
11 years in Michelle's situation.
And then they're fucking with him. They're like, "You had him locked up so you can get that pussy. We're gonna get some of that pussy from you, ass Ariel." That's a girl's name, isn't it? Ariel.
Just like the Little Mermaid.
That's right. We're gonna have that hair dyed red.
Put some little seashell bikini
put some seashells on him like that. Yeah, fucking make him some little high heels and shit. Be fucking out of flip flops, little shower shoes. Make a little fucking G-string for him and shit.
I really didn't need that mental image.
That's what they're doing. They're fucking with his mind. And he's like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta protect my boy pussy. And fucking, he fucking exited. Got early release. Early release by hanging. That's what happened. Which
in a way is kind of a shame. He should have had to suffer. But in a way, like, no one's gonna cry that motherfucker's dead, really. Fuck him. Fuck it. And honestly, like I said, it really does seem like the girls, young women obviously have, really adjusted very well to their situation. They come out a lot. Amanda Berry, she does like some news segments and stuff like that, helps out volunteers with missing children charities and stuff. It's kind of sad though, because Michelle Knight, she got married. She had the kid, Joey, that was taken away from her. You know what I mean? That she was going, because remember on the day she got kidnapped, she was going to the hearing and everything.
I got to react. Yes, he did. He child island manned himself.
Yeah.
Child island man did not take his own life.
Yeah.
But Ariel, the Little Mermaid, did take his own life.
Although, like I said, I think that was like too easy on him, but I'm not going to cry because he's dead. And fuck him, because he's a terrible person. But you do kind of want him to suffer. At least to the extent that his victim suffered, if that's even possible. We gotta do a show on Child Island Man. We probably will get around to it eventually, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay.
But so the shitty thing is that Michelle, like I said, she changed her name to Lily Rose Lee, I think. And she did actually end up getting married. She wanted to have more kids of her own, but because of all the abuse and torture that he put her through, she's now infertile as far as they know. So she can't have any more kids of her own. She wanted to get back in touch with her son, Joey, who, when I saw the interview, he was 18, like when she was talking about him. But she was like, well, I don't want to necessarily involve him in like all this fucked up shit, like all the media circus around the case and everything like that. And it seemed like he got adopted by the foster family that he was with, like when he got taken away from her. And I don't know if there's any like if it's acrimonious, but they didn't really want him to see her. But at this point, he's an adult. So I'm assuming, and I really kind of hope that they reconnected at some point, because I kind of feel like all this time they thought she was a runaway. And so the son was probably told, well, your mom took off and didn't want you. And that wasn't what happened. Like, she got kidnapped. So I kind of hope that, that was resolved, because, he had probably gone so many years with the foster parents telling you, oh, your mom didn't want you anymore, or ran away and left, and she hadn't. So I really kind of hope that got resolved. It hadn't been resolved. She hadn't met up with him, like the interview that I saw, but that was like a year or two old. So I'm not really sure how that turned out. But like I said, I've seen other very recent interviews with the three girls, and they all seem to be doing really well. Like I said, Ariel Castro's death, even though for a time they thought maybe it was autoerotic asphyxiation, like they wondered if he had accidentally, when he was like doing his jack off artist thing, like trying to be creative with it. But
so you fucking you double down and bring back the jack off artist. I love that.
Well, that was only like a couple minutes ago. You got to do like some callback. You talked like it was like 3 weeks ago that you said it. It was just like 5 minutes ago that you said that. But he had actually like set up a little shrine and shit like that. So they do think that it was actually suicide.
Because you're relatively sober compared to me. So of course.
Relatively. I mean, it's getting there.
It's fucking funny.
I might so so like I said, they tore the house down, so there's just like a fucking empty lot now and shit like that. So happily, wasn't happy what happened to them, and they went through fucking horrible torture for 10 years, but they came out of it alive, and they seem to be doing very well. And Ariel Castro is fucking dead and rotting in the earth somewhere. So
Ariel Castro, the little mermaid that couldn't.
The little mermaid that couldn't.
With his little seashell.
He couldn't do a lot of things.
With his little seashell top and shit.
I don't know, man. And it weirds me out so much. Like I think one of the things that weirds me out the most about these cases is that this kind of shit can just be happening, and you're like your next door neighbor's doing that shit and they don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like Charles Ramsey said, it's like the guy was totally normal. Like I said, he played bass. He was like one of the best bass players.
Yeah.
In Cleveland. He was in a salsa band. Like he would go every night. Like he played in this band, and nobody knew a thing. Like he was like pretty popular. He'd go to all the neighborhood barbecues, and everyone just thought he was totally fucking normal. And he had 3 fucking girls like locked up in his fucking house.
So you on to the next case now?
Yeah.
Do you need to take a break at all?
I think I'm all right at the moment.
Okay,
I think
I'm gonna take a break. You go ahead. Hold on one second. Why don't you wait till I come back?
Well, I can't just like stand here like looking at
Answer questions.
I might have to like go to the bathroom after you, now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, dead giveaway. That's what I was saying earlier. It's like I can't listen to like Charles Ramsey talk without hearing that song that somebody made about, it's like, we ate ribs with this dude and like all this other kind of shit, because he was just like instantly memeable. And like the shit that he said about he knew something was wrong when a pretty little white girl ran into a black man's arms. And it's like, I think that's why everybody cracked up, because it's like he was just kind of telling it like it is. Now, he did write a book, and it's called Dead Giveaway, and then it has like this really long subtitle, like Hamburgers, The Rescue, White Folks, and something else. And I haven't read it. Like, it seems like it got good reviews. Like, some people said he's kind of, they liked it because he was like a very honest and refreshing person, but also that he was kind of, not so much an asshole, but I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it, but I kind of want to read it. He seemed like a fascinating character. Like, and he was on like a lot of those fucking TV shows after. But, oh my God. She read a Dear Prudence column once where a person was worried a relative might have someone locked up in his house. It's like, man, it just seems like that's the last thing you would think of, like with relatives and shit. But in some cases, it has to be true, because some people have done that. And I mean, the next case we're going to talk about, the Fritzl case, which is the fucking one thing that blew my mind about this case was when they caught this motherfucker, when they caught Josef Fritzl, he basically, like at his trial or at his sentencing, he basically said something to the effect of, like, he was trying to make it seem like what he did wasn't so bad because, man, just look at other people's houses and you'll find all kind of girls in basements and stuff like that. And I'm like, do you really think that just because you did that, that like a whole bunch of other people do it as well? It's like, other people do it, but I'm sure it's a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of a percentage. It's like, does he really think, oh, everybody does it, so it's okay if I do it too? It just really seemed like that was the attitude that he had. Like it was okay because other people did it, so he wasn't so bad because other people had secrets like that too, which to me seems like really fucked up. But yeah, I kind of wanted to get started on it, but oh, okay, you're back.
I let Pook in.
Oh, okay. Pookie's back in.
Yeah. Did you need to take a break or?
Yeah, you talk for a minute.
Oh,
I'm gonna run to the bathroom and then we'll go on and talk about the Josef Fritzl case.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Fuck, that dude's a fucking winner.
Oh man.
All right, everybody. It's just me and y'all. What do we got going on with everybody? So you guys enjoying the show so far? Just gotta wait for Jim. Oh shit, what was that? Okay. I'd never sit in a big captain's chair. I'm in the captain's chair. What's up, Xanada? How you doing, bro? Yeah, Susie rocks. Susie rocks. See what she's got going on here. She's got a lot of notes and everything. Okay. So, Matt, you're signing your divorce Monday, huh? All right, everybody's enjoying the show. Fucking Jana Blaha. There's a guy called Jason Blaha. Do you have any idea who that? Do you know who that is? Jason Blaha is the biggest fitness fucking fake in all YouTube. Okay, back.
Oh, you're sitting in my chair.
Yeah, I'm in the captain's chair. Go ahead,
well,
Jen.
now I can't get in.
Go ahead, Jen.
Okay. Did you talk bad about me while I was gone?
Nah.
I couldn't hear anything.
Yeah, me and Dennis are running in 2020.
Oh my God. All right. So you want to talk about the Fritzl case?
Yeah, this guy's great.
Jesus
Greatest
Christ.
mustache of all time.
This guy, it's like hard to tell when you look at pictures of people like, serial killers or psychopaths or whatever. But this guy looks like a fucking psychopath. I mean, when you see the picture of him, you're just like, oh, of course. That's, of course, exactly what he would look like. So this happened, they didn't find out about it until 2008. This happened in Austria in a town called Amstetten. Now, so Josef Fritzl was this guy, and okay.
He looked like something out of damn. There was a movie back in the day called The Great Race.
Yeah.
The Great Race was supposed to be taking place like in the early 1900s. They were going to get in these old fucking cars and race all the way around the earth. And they had one team. It was the bad guys. They had, what was the name of the fucking Snidely Whiplash? No, not what was his name? Do you remember the name of that?
Oh, shit. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
It was Jack Lemmon and the other guy. I don't remember the name of that fucking team, but he looked like something from The Great Race.
Yeah.
What was that guy's name in it? They wore all black. They were kind of good with fucking top hats.
Yeah.
They had a black car with a fucking red spike on the fucking front of it. They got red hot.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember what the name of those guys were. Anyway, this dude looked like he should be on that racing team.
Yeah.
He had the black hair and the little fucked up mustache. Didn't he have like a fucked up mustache? It wasn't a handlebar mustache. It was just
really.
He looked like something from the early 1900s.
Well, he grew up in like Austria in like the Nazi era.
Yeah.
Which, he seemed to have some Nazi tendencies. I think that's kind of why.
Why you say that?
Because of like shit that he did later on. He was very, very, very like into discipline and imprisonment, and he was just like really
I think he was just a bondage dude. I thought
no, it wasn't anything to do with bondage.
Okay.
Maybe you're thinking of a different
This
case.
is the guy who fucking trapped his own daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
For 24 years.
Yeah.
In Austria.
He was just a fucking pervert, though.
Yeah, big
I
time.
don't think it had anything to do with politics.
No, I'm just saying that he grew up during that era, and he later on said that he was like kind of into that kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like and it kind of like influenced his upbringing a lot.
He liked sadomasochism.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, like, strict discipline. He was like really, really strict into that.
Well, that's always been there in that era.
Yeah.
They had a really good militaries. They trained our army back in the 1700s of Prussia. Our army was based on a Prussian system of training, which is brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal discipline.
Terry Thomas, was the name of the actor in The Great Race. Yeah. I remember that guy.
What was the name? What were the name of those characters, though? Do you guys remember?
I can't remember. That's been such a
Professor
long time.
Fate. That's what his name was. Professor Fate.
Yeah.
And you look like Professor Fate to me. Great movie, actually.
Yeah. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah.
So, all right. So he's born in Austria, in the town where all of this shit took place. Now, when he was 21, he married a woman named Rosemary, who was 17 at the time. Now, he would end up with her. He would have 4 daughters and 3 sons. Now, their daughter Elisabeth, who was the woman that would later become his captive, was born in 1966. Now, he started sexually abusing her, reportedly, when she was 11 years old. Now, she actually she finished school when she was 15, and then she was going to go on and she was going to be a waitress. However, because she had been sexually abused for several years at this point, she ran away from home, understandably. So she went to Vienna and stayed with a friend of hers, but the police found her 3 weeks later and took her back home. Now, she ended up getting a job as a waitress in 1984, and she worked there for a little while, but once she turned 18, her father decided that later on, he said it was because she wouldn't listen to him or she was rebellious or something like that, which, like I said, it sounds like a bunch of crap. I think it was just because she was 18, she had a job. He was afraid she was going to move out. So he thought, well, I better do something about this. So very shortly after she turned 18, he basically said, hey, come down to the basement a minute. I need you to help me with something. So she goes down there to help him. She helps him carry a door, like this big door. And then once they get the door into the frame, they get it in place and everything like that. And then he had like a towel that was soaked in ether, and he put it over her face and knocked her out and then locked her in the basement. Now, it should be noted that this dude planned this for a really long time. Now, notably, he had been in prison before for rape and attempted rape when he was younger, like in his 20s. He said that he had gotten the idea of like building a bunker to keep a woman in, like while he was in prison for that. And he would later say that he was, quote unquote, born to rape. And so he needed like an outlet for that, or he would be a lot worse. That's kind of what he was getting at. So he had come up with this idea of doing this basement thing. So this took several years of planning for him to do, because this wasn't just like, oh, he threw his daughter in like a normal ass basement and kept her down there and nobody knew about it.
It was like another house.
This was like a secret basement that was like behind the basement, the sub basement. Yeah. There are like 8 fucking doors that you had to go through that were like locked, and 2 of them were like electronic locks. He was an engineer, like he had trained in engineering. So he had like this really elaborate, system. And like the door into the thing, there was only one door that you could go into. Then, like I said, it was this whole network of like fucking doors, and it was all underground and everything. Was like behind, it was like a secret passage. It was like behind a bookshelf, like in his office or something like that. So nobody knew that it was really back there. His cover story for when he initially built it was that he was building a bomb shelter, which a lot of people were doing at the time. So nobody thought it was that weird. So like I said, it's not the kind of case where it was just like, oh, they were just right there in the basement and nobody knew anything about it. This was like a very thought out. That's what's so creepy about this fucking case, is that he had thought out every fucking detail about this shit.
Yeah. The only thing he didn't think out was the ventilation. It didn't have any ventilation, so it was constantly fucking really moist, a lot of condensation.
It was, it was really
moist. And it had like fucking a lot of bad air in it.
Yep. And it was small. It was only about, I think it was only 500 or 600 square feet.
Yeah.
It had like a hot plate. It had a bathroom. It had a couple bedrooms, but it was very, very small. And the ceiling was really low. And it was really sad because one of the kids she had when she was in there, because we'll get into that, he ended up being, when he grew up, he was 5'8", and the ceiling was only 5'6". So when they were eventually let out, he has permanent spinal problems because he constantly had to crouch down all that. He couldn't stand up straight. So this is like just a fucked up situation all around. So he has built this fucking basement compound, which he called a bunker, and he has locked Elisabeth down in it. Now, he has, like I said, he's planned everything ahead. So she disappears. Her mom files a missing persons report, as you would. Now, a month after that, Josef comes forward, and he says he has a letter from his daughter. And it is indeed from his daughter because he has forced her to write it in the basement. But the mom didn't know that. The cops didn't know that. So basically what the letter said was that Elisabeth said that she didn't want to live with her family anymore. And she had gone off to stay with a friend. She's like, please don't look for me or I'll leave the country. And the letter was postmarked from like some other city because he had made her write it. And then he had driven to another city and mailed it back to his own house. So, like I said, he thought all of this shit through. So he basically told everybody that, well, she was mad at us and she ran off and she joined a religious cult. So, and she doesn't want us to look for her. So that's kind of how he deflected all of the issues, of her just being there the whole time. You know what I mean? So, and, every now and then, like he would make her write a letter, saying where she was or something like that, which is why like nobody looked for her. And then, like I said, she had run away before and he was a very, well-respected figure, like in the neighborhood. Like he was kind of like had a nice job. It was like a decent house. Even though he had been convicted of rape and attempted rape previously, like in his 20s, enough time had passed that it wasn't on his record anymore. Like it had been expunged. So no one had any reason to like think anything was wrong because, Elisabeth had been troubled before. And he said that she ran away to join a cult. So everyone just kind of believed that. So the next 24 years, Josef basically goes down into the basement every day, or at least like several times a week, rapes her every day, brings food. He basically, what he would do, he just told his wife, he would go down there like in the morning and said that he was working down there. Like that was his secret basement thing. And she wasn't allowed to go in there. And, sometimes he would even sleep down there and he'd just say, oh, he's just working really hard. That's
now
what
imagine this shit. This is your dad doing this shit. Imagine this shit.
That's right. This like fucking blows my mind. This is blowing my mind.
Yeah.
So because of all the rapes,
Fucker's a psycho.
Yeah. Because of all the rapes, she got pregnant 7 times. Now, one of the children was a boy, and he died only a few days after he was born. And Josef took the body up and burned it in the incinerator. The other 6 children lived, and they just lived in this fucking small bunker with their mom.
Damn.
And sometimes, according to her, Josef would rape her in front of the kids just to humiliate her.
Damn.
So there was that whole thing. And then another thing that he would do, and they're not entirely sure why he did this, either because they were running out of room down there, or he was afraid that the kids were going to make too much noise and he would get caught. So what he started doing was the kids who were like the youngest and the noisiest, when they were still pretty young or too young to like remember exactly what was going on, he would take them out of the basement and then he would go around and he would leave them on his own doorstep. And then he would tell the wife and the authorities that, oh, my daughter Elisabeth, who ran off to join a cult, if you remember, this is one of her kids and she just dumped the kid here for us to take care of. So they essentially adopted them as foster children, and they lived in the house with him and his wife. And that was like their foster kids.
It's an ingenious, dastardly plan.
That's what I mean. Dastardly. That's exactly. He looks dastardly.
Yeah, that's what I said. He looked like Professor Fate from fucking.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. So, and his wife, I see this in this situation. I don't like, because I know that like the wives of serial killers and stuff like this, like how could they have not have known and all this other kind of shit. Because I think in a lot of ways, like, BTK's wife, Ted Bundy's girlfriend, I don't think that they knew what was going on. In this case, I find it harder to excuse it. I'm not saying I don't know if she knew exactly what was going on, but I find it difficult to square that she didn't investigate further. Maybe she was afraid of him. I mean, he did seem like a frightening person, obviously. And maybe she thought it better like not to look too much into his affairs.
Well, he had that underground thing, and then the door to it was hidden. So maybe she just had.
That's what I mean. Maybe she didn't think about it. I mean, it's possible.
The thing is that there was no ventilation down there.
Yeah.
And you have 6 little kids and then a grown woman. You would think that the smell would be pretty bad.
You would think that.
Yeah.
And another thing, too, that I think a lot of people don't mention is that over the 24 years that Elisabeth and the kids, oh my goodness,
sneezing,
that Elisabeth and the children were in this bunker, they had tenants in the building. Like they rented out rooms.
Bizarre.
Like over those 24 years, I believe it was somewhere in the order of like 100 different people. And a couple of them did say, it's like sometimes they would hear weird things like in the basement, but Josef would always say something like, oh, it was just like faulty pipes or, you know, or a gas leak or something. Like he would always come up with an excuse. And like you said, no one really, that's not the first thing that you jump to is that someone's keeping someone in the fucking basement. I mean,
right.
Because how often does that happen?
A woman and 6 little kids.
Right. So you wouldn't think that. So if somebody just told you, oh, you know, the pipes are shitty or whatever, you'd just be like, oh, okay. You would just probably buy it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So I know a lot of people do like kind of shit on his wife for not knowing, or at least being so incurious.
It wasn't.
I think it's not so much that like she didn't know that there was like a bunker, because like I said, why would you think that? But I think people were mad because she seemed like she didn't look for Elisabeth too hard. And they're like, if your daughter ran off and like joined a cult, it's like if you were their mom, wouldn't you look for them harder instead of just
maybe not?
Yeah, I guess it depends.
She was grown up. And you're talking about Germans; they're pretty reserved.
Well,
Austrians,
yeah.
About the same thing, same kind of culture though. And this is a pretty big house, from what I remember.
It is, yeah. It was
quite a pretty big house, so I think it would be easier to hide him in a bigger house.
You know what I mean? I guess so. And like I said, if there were like lodgers and stuff staying in there, maybe there was all kind of noise.
And the wife might have been coming and going a lot. And how long was it? 20 years?
24 years.
As long as the entrance to the place was fucking well hidden behind a damn bookcase, why
you wouldn't think about it?
Why would you move a bookcase? Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, it wasn't like a normal basement. It was like a series of like doors, like locked doors and tunnels.
She didn't know that
sub basements.
She didn't know that he was bringing fucking food down there, clothing, educational material, because he was sending books down there to little kids. She was putting the little kids through school, basically.
Yeah.
From what I remember.
Well, the mom did teach them to read and write and everything. I mean, she did an amazing job.
How the hell do you explain the situation to the kids, though?
Look,
we're down here. There's an outside world. You guys have never seen it.
They've never seen it.
We can't leave.
24 years. They were grown.
And your dad is my dad.
That's what I mean. It's like, this is so messed up. Yeah. It's like, you can't even like fucking make this up. So in 1994, that was after the 4th kid was born.
Jeez.
Josef like magnanimously said, oh, well, I guess we can make this basement, like the bunker, bigger, but you guys have to do all the work. And I don't think he gave them any tools or anything. They just had to like dig shit out with their hands, like to make it bigger. So it was initially 380 square feet, which is very, very small if you didn't know. And then they expanded it to 590 square feet. Now they did have a TV, they had a radio, and they had a VCR, they had a hot plate, and they had a refrigerator. Sometimes like Josef would come down there and like watch videos with them. Now, Elisabeth also said later that he would make her watch porn and then they would have to act it out.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah. And then like
with the kids there.
Yeah, because it was all, it's one room. It's like, you know what I mean? It's not like the kids could go anyplace. So like I said, this is fucked up. So if they did something bad or something that Josef didn't like, Josef would turn their lights off, leave them in the dark for, several hours or days at a time, or would not bring them food. He also had them believing that he could gas them, or that they would be electrocuted if they touched the door and tried to get out. So even though they later determined, like after they found her, there's no way that they could have gassed them because there was no gas supply to the basement, but they didn't know that. So what ended up happening, how this fucking douche got caught after all this time. Like I said, at this point, Elisabeth and 3 of the kids are in the basement, and the other 3 kids live upstairs with Josef and his wife. and don't really, I mean, I guess they
don't even remember anything.
Yeah, they were probably they were fairly young when they got taken away from their mom. So it's kind of like two things going on. And Josef is just like going back and forth between, he's essentially living two lives, like one in the normal house and one in the underground house. So how this motherfucker ended up getting caught. This happened in April of 2008. Now, Elisabeth's oldest daughter, whose name was Kirsten, she got really sick. It was some kind of like, she passed out, and I think it ended up being like some kind of kidney failure or something like that. She really had like some serious problems.
How old was she at this time?
Which, the daughter or the
Kirsten? 40?
No. She would have been, she was the oldest daughter. I think she would have been I think she was 19.
Okay, but his daughter must have been by this time about what?
Yeah.
40.
Something like that, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because Kirsten I believe she was 19 when she got sick, and so
she'd been down there her whole life, 19 years.
Yeah. So Josef finally agreed that, they needed to take her to the hospital. So Elisabeth and Josef take Kirsten out of the chamber. This is the first time she has been outside in 24 years, Elisabeth. Man. Like outside. Can you imagine?
Be a big shock.
Yeah. So after she helped her dad take Kirsten out of the bunker, Josef made her go back into the bunker, and then she was in there for another week. But Josef called an ambulance, and the ambulance came and got Kirsten. Now, when Kirsten got to the hospital, the doctors and nurses that were attending her were very confused because Josef was kind of being understandably cagey about who she was. He's just like, oh, well, she's, my daughter's, I think he said she's my daughter's kid. And it's like, my daughter ran away and left her or something like that. And the hospital staff thought it was very weird that Kirsten did not have any record of her existence, no birth certificate, no social security number, no nothing like that. And, he wasn't telling them, who she was, basically. So they thought that was very suspicious. And they also, obviously for medical purposes, they needed to know who the mother was and everything in case there was some kind of genetic defect, and they needed to know that, but he wouldn't tell them. So Josef is kind of being thing, and they're getting suspicious. So he leaves, and then he comes back later and says, oh, well, I found this note from Kirsten's mom that says what you need to know. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like so that kind of shit. So at this point, the hospital staff are like, yeah, this is not right. So they called the cops. So the cops came forward and contacted the media, and the media came out and said, look, we need, this girl came up at this hospital. We need to know who her mother is. We need to know who she is because she's going to die. Because she was in really bad shape. So at this stage, the police also reopened the investigation into Elisabeth's disappearance. Since this was Josef Fritzl, it was Elisabeth's father, and they thought that there might be some connection there, which there was. At this point, Josef was still trying to do damage control. He said, no, she ran away. She's in a cult. She just sent me this letter. And so they kind of tried to, but at this point, I think the police were starting to feel like his case was kind of starting to fall apart, because they're just like, look, we've never heard of a cult that's like this one that she's talking about. These letters sound like they were dictated by someone else. So they just thought it was very weird. So at this stage, Elisabeth finally talked her father, because she had seen, she had a TV. So she had seen all the media and stuff like that saying, look, this girl's going to die. We need to know who her mother is. So Elisabeth was like, please let me go to the hospital and talk to them. So he finally, on April 26th, 2008, he finally let her and her two other sons, whose names were Stefan and Felix, let them leave the house, and they went to the hospital. Now, the police came and surrounded the place and detained them there. Now, Elisabeth, and man, good for her, she said, the cops were like, look, what the fuck is going on and everything. And she said, I will tell you everything if you promise me that I never have to see my father ever again. And the police said that they would do that. So she told them the whole fucking story.
Imagine those cops were fucking shitting. They were going, no way, this can't be true.
Yeah, they were fucking, their minds were blown.
Then they went down there and found that underground bunker, and they're like, God damn.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah. So basically the cops were like, okay, they heard the story. So then they went back. They took all the kids, and they took Joseph's wife, and they put them all into care.
Yeah.
At this stage, Josef knew that he was busted. So he showed the cops how to get into the bunker, which, like I said, he had like keyless entry with like the code on it. 2 of the doors were electronic. I believe it was either 5 doors or 8 doors. They were like, so it wasn't just like I said, it wasn't just like walking into a door. It was just like a whole series of fucking doors that only he had the code to, and they were hidden and shit like that.
I would have killed that dude on the spot.
Yeah, it's like, really, is there any reason for keeping this dude around? I mean,
well, the only reason, I imagine they would too, but they're in a group, and everybody's watching. You get in trouble.
Yeah, they're probably just like, hey, just like, turn your head over, look over there for a second.
Yeah, how to kill that motherfucker. Dude's evil, man.
Fucking hell.
It's not a man, it's a fucking monster.
Yeah,
it's
clearly.
a fucking monster.
And, so they did the whole DNA test and did like actually prove that all of the children were Joseph's biological children.
Damn.
Yeah. I know, this is fucked up.
Jeez.
It's just fucked up. Yeah. And I should note too, that like some of the doors that were in between, like the main door, like that led into this bunker, weighed over 1,000 pounds. So it wasn't then there was another door that was like 650 pounds. Like I said, there were all these like keyless entry codes and shit like that. So the thing about it is that Josef, when he got caught, like I said, he did electrical engineering. He kind of had that thing where at first, what's the deal with like these fucked up dudes and like their relationships with their moms, man? Because one of the first things he said was he thought his mom was awesome, but then later on, he kind of came forward and talked about how much she sucked. And also, I think he kind of had the hots for her. It was totally fucking weird. It was just like
some kind of sexual pervert.
Yeah. And basically, so like I said, this wasn't his first time that he had done something like this. It's just that in Austria, particularly in this time period, I guess after 15 years, like your records were expunged, like your criminal record. So he had actually, in 1967, he had actually broken into a house and raped a 24-year-old woman who was a nurse, like while her husband was out of town.
Well, the dude's a psychopath and he's a fucking sexual fucking deviant. You know what I mean? He's a rapist.
Yeah,
a serial rapist.
And he was also he also got arrested for an attempted rape of a 21-year-old woman, and was kind of big. He would go around doing like indecent exposure and shit like that.
I guess he figured that if he fucking got his daughter, he could keep himself out of trouble.
Well, that's essentially what he said, because he was saying like,
but you're going like, well, yeah, fuck my daughter. I'll just use her
she'll just be around, and then that'll keep me from raping.
Yeah.
That's essentially what he said.
So that's
essentially what he said.
That's a serious fucking psychopath. That's a dude that just puts himself.
Yeah, this guy is
puts himself over everything.
Not even.
That's not a human being. That's like a robot.
Yeah, it's just he's not even an animal, because that's an insult to animals.
Animals aren't like that.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's like, and I kind of have a problem with like people that call like people that do these kind of crimes. It's like, oh, he's just an animal. I'm like, no, animals are awesomer than that.
Animals make perfect sense.
Yeah.
They make perfect sense.
It's like, they don't do that shit like that for no reason. Nope. Come on. Yeah.
They kill shit because it's just some shit to kill, and then they eat it or they don't eat it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they don't like rape their own offspring and keep them captive and shit. Although, there's interbreeding going on between cats and dogs. They don't know.
Yeah.
But they're not being mean. Yeah. They're just doing what animals do.
That's what I mean. It's not like it takes intelligence to be this fucked
to do this shit, right? Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah, just cats don't know they're related, and dogs don't know they're related. They don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So
but this dude's getting off on the wrongness.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, he said something like he pulled an Ariel Castro as well and said, "Oh, it wasn't rape because it was consensual." I'm like,
and it's her fault.
I'm sure your daughter was like super into it, dude.
It was her fault. I had to do it. It kept her out of trouble.
Yeah.
How much gonna be said some shit like that?
It's always the woman's fault.
If I wasn't doing this, she'd be out there running around acting crazy.
That was kind of one of the angles that he was coming
Yeah,
at it. He was kind of a little bit like, well, she was rebellious and
blah, I had to keep her under control.
That's why she had run away one time, and she ran away because he was already molesting her when she was 11.
She'd have gotten in trouble.
That's why she ran away. I was
keeping her out of trouble. That's why. Remember that British couple that was fucking raping girls together, and they were
Fred and Rosemary West.
Yeah. Fucking Fred West was like that when he killed his own daughter.
Yep.
Well, she was being bad, so I raped her and killed her.
Remember like you shit? Do.
Yeah, like you do. You know, she was unruly. She was unruly because she was getting away from you.
Yeah. Well, I kind of feel like that was the situation here. It's like, obviously, he'd been molesting her since she was 11.
Yeah.
And I think he was just afraid because, like I said, she had turned 18. She had a job and she had run away before. She was going to leave.
Yeah.
So I thought, so he was probably like, oh, well, this is my last chance. So I better get her now before she takes off and like goes and has an adult life somewhere.
That's some weird shit, man.
That's what I mean. So it's like, so he kind of vacillated, like I said, between kind of like Ariel Castro did.
I kicked that dude's dick up into his mouth.
Right?
Dude's a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
I'd fuck that dude up.
Somebody needs to.
I would fuck that dude up.
So yeah, so he's saying shit about it being consensual, kind of victim blaming. Always, he seemed to say, and this is like a quote from him. He said, "I always knew during the whole 24 years that what I was doing was not right. That I must have been crazy to do such a thing, yet it became a normal occurrence to lead a second life in the basement of my house." Yet then he would turn around and say, just like Ariel Castro did, that he's not a monster, that he's not a beast. And then he would try to point out like good shit he did. Oh, well, I brought them a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
I watched videos with the kids. I ate meals with them. I was nice to them. And it's like, what the like that makes it okay somehow. It's like, oh my God, it's just like fucking, it's crazy. So that he said that he had to imprison her. Yeah, see, this is exactly what you said. He said she did not adhere to my rules anymore when she became a teenager. That's why I had to do something. I had to create a place where I could keep Elisabeth by force if necessary away from the outside world.
Bee's Nest is back. Good to see you back, Bee's Nest.
Yeah. Where'd you go?
He had to run off, go do some shit. Remember? He goes, "Oh, you guys are still back on."
Yeah, we're only on the second case. Still.
We're on the end of the second case.
Yeah, this is the end of the second case. So basically, they this guy, like I said, he said that he tried to like blame his mom, as they all do. It's like, look, she just at first he said she was super awesome, but then he said, no, she didn't love me. She never hugged me. She just had me so she could prove to my dad that she could have children. And there was all this other stuff. And then
he's lying.
And then he was talking about how much he liked the Nazis and all this other kind of shit.
He's lying.
No. So there's all this other kind of crap.
He's just trying to get off.
Yeah. He said, and this is a direct quote from him. He said, "I was born to rape. And I held myself back for a relatively long time." Well, gee, thank you.
Yeah.
That's so nice of you.
You're lucky I didn't rape more.
I could have behaved a lot worse than locking up my daughter.
Yeah. So there he is.
I could have behaved a lot worse. I had to do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, all of you
I'm saving you people from me.
That's basically what he was saying.
You should be thankful. I could have been much worse.
Yeah. So he was fucking in prison for life, thankfully. I don't know if he's still alive because he was old as shit, like when he went. But I was saying this while you were in the bathroom. He basically was trying to say that, why don't you look in other people's basements and you'll find like other girls and stuff like we all have
that's just common. Everybody's doing it
up in our base. I'm like, man, don't fucking project.
Everybody's doing it.
You're a fucking crazy person. Like I said, it's like, how many people have that? Just thankfully not very many.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, sadly, the, Elisabeth and the kids and everything, obviously they had very, really bad issues from, particularly the children, because they were
inbred.
That, and they had never seen sunlight for 24 years. And like I said, some of them were grown. So a lot of them had issues, both physical and psychological. They were completely freaked out by having space to walk around because they were so used to being in a confined space. And like when they were like allowed to run around, it like freaked them out really badly and they would have panic attacks. They were actually in hospitals for a long time. And after they were let out, I believe the Austrian government said that they could have new identities if they wanted, because they really did not want any media attention. And they seem to have been pretty good about kind of giving them their privacy and leaving them alone. Because they have had...
It would take 10 years to recover from that.
That's what I mean. They've had like a lot of issues and they had to go like through a lot of therapy.
A lot of parts of their brains would still be infantile because they were just not fucking developed. Like you said, spatial awareness. They probably never got that.
And their all of their vision was bad because it was so dark in there. The air was bad. The mold.
And only focusing up close. Fuck your eyes up.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Matt.
All right. Let me see them flash bulbs. Let me see them flash bulbs, Matt.
Now, I don't know if they had any genetic problems. Like I said, it actually does seem like the media and everything have kind of stayed out of their business, which is kind of cool. I don't know because inbreeding does cause like genetic difficulties, but sometimes it takes a few generations. So they might have turned out okay. But like I said, because of them being confined for so long and not having, not seeing the sun until they were adults, have caused them some real problems. But they do seem to be, working through it and they're in care and everything like that. So hopefully everything works out well for them. Also, there was this is weird too, and I didn't even think about this, but when they tried to like reintroduce the upstairs children and the downstairs children, because like I said, 3 of them were taken out and raised in the normal house, and they had to get over. There was like a lot of psychological issues between those two as well, because like the downstairs children were very resentful of the ones that had been taken away, and the upstairs children had really, really bad guilt. Like once they found out, because they didn't know, they were too little when they were taken out.
It's like a horror movie.
Yeah, and once they found out that those kids were that their siblings were down there, they felt fucking horrible about it, and it took them like a really long time to work through that. Actually, the room, that movie Room, not The Room, not Tommy Wiseau, but the movie Room with Brie Larson I think it was loosely based on this case and another one that's kind of similar to it. Like, you know what I mean? With somebody like keeping somebody in a fucking bunker although I don't think in the movie, I don't think it was her dad. I think it was just like some stranger person. But this was like the dad case. This is like completely fucked up. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if Josef Fritzl is still alive. I think he might be. He actually did change his name in 2017. Somebody in the prison did beat his ass, so that's good. He got a bunch of his teeth knocked out. So whoever did that, hero.
That motherfucker needed to be buggled.
I don't know. I kind of hope that he did get that, but
get some of that.
That's like a really fucked up.
Get some of that fucking non-consensual man-on-man action in the prison. Sexual retribution.
The thing that kills me about it, and you kind of saw it
He's a rapist. If you're a rapist, you're on the fucking menu in prison.
And like I said, the shit that happens, and it seems like they're the first ones to cry when they have the same shit done back to them.
They're like, I was just taking pussy. Why are you taking my boy pussy? And then they what the fuck you thinking? Yeah,
like, did you ever think that maybe that would be turned around on you someday?
You didn't think that somebody else would go, I see how you are. I'm going to get you.
And you didn't think that sometimes people might do that shit on purpose because they're like, that's how you treat people? How does it fucking feel, motherfucker?
Yeah, because
you don't like it, do you?
Dude got big fucking reputation points for fucking getting you up in your fucking little shit pussy. You know what I'm talking about? Fucking then he's grandstanding in front of the other inmates. I got him. That's how they do.
Well, yeah.
You know the deal.
And like I said, in this case,
you know the deal.
I'm just not going to feel bad about it if somebody thought. And in fact, it makes me kind of happy that somebody just punched him in the face and knocked all his teeth out. Good. Fucker.
He's lucky he didn't end up with a motherfucker walking him down the middle of the tier, arm in arm, sporting him on his arm like a cheerleader. You know what I'm talking about? Just to show him off. You know?
It's Terry Thomas.
Showing him. Yeah. Terry Thomas.
I remember that guy.
Yeah.
He was in everything. Like back like there was a period in like British cinema history where that dude was. It seemed like he was in everything.
He's lucky he didn't end up a fucking prison trophy wife.
He's too ugly for that.
Yeah.
Well, and even in the prison population, I feel like this is a way like a step too far. You know what I mean?
Well, I think
because dudes in prison, they have daughters too.
Yeah. Well, I think somebody would have gone after him just for the clout.
Yeah.
To go look what I did. Yeah.
And look how and it was a hugely famous gun, not just in Austria, but all over the world. In fact, I think like the Austrian government rather, I think they kind of felt like the need to come out and apologize. Like, sorry, this happened in our country. It's really a nice country, I swear.
It was a national embarrassment.
It was a national embarrassment, as it would be. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, they just like, look, everybody's not like that.
That's right. Look, somebody mentioned it. Do I hear Fleece Johnson is needed? You're right, Hughes. That's right. Look, Fleece Johnson was needed. You guys know who Fleece Johnson is? Just go look at Fleece Johnson on fucking YouTube. You'll see. Also known as, AKA, the Booty Warrior.
There you go.
He's a legendary prison figure here in the United States. He knows what he is. He knows what he is.
The Booty Warrior.
No shame in his game. No shame in his game.
All right. So, do you want to talk about the Elisabeth Smart case now?
Yeah, you ready?
This will be the last one. Do you need to do anything?
I'm good.
Yeah, I think I'm good too. I'm still on my first drink. You're like almost done with your second one.
I might refill it in a while, but you can go ahead.
Well, why don't you wait and then you can refill mine at the same time?
They're going
because we only have one more.
Tom and Viagra. I don't know what you mean by that. That was a long time ago. Although, if you guys ever fuck with that Viagra, let me tell you something about Viagra. Viagra will take you back to the age of fucking 13. It will, man. You just fucking.
If you have an erection lasting more than 4 hours, please consult your doctor.
Jenny knows all about it. I got my hands on some of those pills one time. That was fucking.
Was it Viagra or was it the?
It was Cialis. That's that same shit.
That's the same shit.
I need to get more of that. I need.
that was
that shit there, man. It was fucking. It was a recreational drug. Okay, so what's going on?
Oh goodness. All right, so we're both coughing.
Leonard Lake and his project, man.
COVID.
Bee's Nest is saying it's kind of like Leonard Lake and Project Miranda. Similar.
Yeah.
Those guys were fucking nastier, though. They were killing a bunch of people.
need to go back and read because we did a show on those
dudes
two.
Are fucking assholes.
I mean, all these dudes like fucking piss me off and gross me out, but it's like, I don't know, some of them more than others, I guess.
Yeah, the author of the book said that he was inspired by the case. Okay. People tell you
because I think there was another case, too. It might have been that JC Doug or whatever.
So we need a call-in show.
Yeah. You guys can like talk to us on the show. This is good though. I kind of like that. All right, so let's talk about Elisabeth Smart.
You okay? Go ahead.
Now, this happened in 2002 in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Yeah, I remember this case.
Now, Elisabeth Smart at the time, she was 14 years old.
14 and cute as a bug.
She is a cute
as a bug,
little girl. Her family was Mormon. She was a very sweet girl, very good student. She played the harp. Just a regular girl, did cross country, everything like that. So one night she was lying in her bed. She had a little sister named Mary Catherine, who was 9 at the time. And they had a big bed in their room and they shared a bed. And like what they would do is they would go up to bed and Elisabeth would read to her little sister and then they would go to sleep. So on this particular night, though, they both go to sleep and then Elisabeth wakes up and there is a dude in the room holding a knife to her throat, basically saying, "Come with me or I'm going to kill you and your whole family." And Mary Catherine, the 9-year-old, she woke up and she kind of saw what was going on, but she was too scared to see anything. And 2, she was afraid that if she said something or alerted the dude that she was awake, that maybe the dude would kill her or maybe, and then maybe that the parents wouldn't know where Elisabeth had gone. So she like pretended she was asleep and just kind of like watched what happened. So she would be able to tell everybody what was going on.
Here's the shame about this kind of shit. All right. This dude made this fucking threat to this little girl. And I could understand from her point of view, this probably looked like a real threat. But if you were to actually look at this guy, especially from my point of view, I'd cut through this motherfucker like a hot knife through butter. All right. This guy
was a weenie.
A fucking pussy. All right. And I doubt he could have taken her dad. She should have just fucking screamed out. There was just nothing to this guy. Just a fucking wimp.
But you don't know. I mean, like,
she's a little girl.
She's a little girl.
She's scared.
I mean, I'd be scared if you woke up in the middle of the night and some fucking asshole.
I'd reach up real quick, just grab those biceps. If I feel nothing near, I'd go to work on that motherfucker.
I mean, the thing about it, like I said, not to victim blame at all, because like I said, these are little kids we're talking about.
But the thing is that her dad was probably a lot bigger than him, and all she had to do is start screaming. He wouldn't cut her. He'd run. But they're kids. They don't fucking know.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. They're just little kids.
Yeah.
And you don't really expect like somebody to just, because nobody heard anything.
Yeah.
This dude basically, so he just comes in, holds a knife.
And the dude is basically a bum. He's basically a bum.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what's fucked up about it.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening, so he just like takes her out of the house. And then the little sister, Mary Catherine, she runs into the parents' room as soon as they're gone. And is like, Elisabeth is gone. Like a guy took her. And the parents didn't believe her at first, like as you wouldn't. She just thought she was having a bad dream or whatever. She's like, no, I'm serious. Like a guy took her. We're not going to find her. It's like, she's gone. And then so the parents start looking all over the house like, oh, maybe she's just downstairs. It's fine or whatever. So they go down there. But then they see that in the kitchen that there's like a screen like in the window and it's cut. And then they start freaking out. And then they call the cops. Now, as it turned out, Elisabeth Smart had been taken by this guy named Brian David Mitchell, which kind of made me laugh because my brother's name is Brian Mitchell, although his middle name is not David. But so I was like, my brother did not kidnap anyone. So, what I mean? Even though he has the same name, it's a different middle name. But his name is Brian Mitchell too. So, like I said, these are all Mormons. The guy that kidnapped her was also a Mormon, although he kind of went off on a weird like tangent later and like kind of went off, did his own thing. But the Smart family were Mormons as well, as a lot of people in Salt Lake City are. The thing about Brian, oh, thank you. Oh my goodness.
God
thank
damn,
you very
what
much.
happened? That shit was pink. What kind of fucking flash bulb? Yes, indeed. Mango bed. Light bulb for Tom and Jenny. And you guys rock. Let me tell you something, Mango Badger. You are the shit, bro. You're the shit.
I like how it's like different colors. With, like, difference every time.
Gotta make sure you get a shirt, dude. Make a shirt for you.
I know. We're trying to like. We
gotta do a shirt.
I finished the design today. Okay. I gotta show it to you to see if you like it or not. I like how it came out. I'd wear
it. He's a subscriber, right?
Yeah, well, like I said, people that like give. I'm trying to like make a big, huge list of like everybody that's given us like.
We gotta take care of everybody. Like things are starting to open back up. I'll get to it.
Well, I just want everybody's sizes so I can like, because I'm gonna order the shirts from Jiffy Shirts, and then we can just go to Michael's and get like screens.
Gotta get the screen print,
ink, and everything like that.
I gotta make this shit.
Yeah. So this douche, so he also came from a Mormon family. Now, what he said after they caught him was that his family, he came from like a big family, like a lot of Mormon families are. He says that to learn about sex, his dad showed him like these a medical journal with all these like explicit photos of like genitalia and stuff in there. And also he said, like this is from the Wikipedia page, he says to teach him about independence, he would drive Brian to unfamiliar parts of the city and then leave him there and let him find his own way home.
Okay.
Now, this kid seemed kind of fucked up from the beginning. Like I said, it might have been.
I wonder if that's true.
I don't know. His parents might have been fucked up. I don't really know. But apparently the kid started getting in trouble when he was a teenager. He started exposing himself and got sent to juvie. When he was 19, he married a 16-year-old girl. And they had a couple of kids, but the wife ended up getting them. And then after that, he seemed to become like a drifter. Like he joined the Hare Krishnas for a while. He was kind of an alcoholic. He had a history of drug abuse. So so he married again. He had another wife named Debbie. They had a couple kids, and then she had like 3 kids, I think. Now, the wife later said that Brian was abusive, which, like I said, not surprising. There were also allegations that he had sexually abused their 3-year-old son.
Let me see them
Thank you, Matt.
flash bulbs. Matt. I see a flash bulb. We got hit. If you guys don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, we're going to have to lift that clip out of Airplane. Airplane 1 had the 2 black dudes that were cool as shit, fuck, walking out the plane going, let me see them flash bulbs. Remember that shit? I grew up with that shit. My Uncle Red from Mammoth Mountain Poltergeist just said, let me see them flash bulbs all the fucking time when he wanted something.
See, every time you say that, I keep thinking that you're talking about boobs.
No, flash bulbs was just appreciation. Okay, let me see them flash bulbs.
Like the paparazzi or like
paparazzi. Yeah. Let me see them flash bulbs. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And fucking Uncle Red used to say it.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, let me see them flash bulbs.
That's just like when we started doing this. That's the first time I ever heard you say that.
Yeah. Well, it's because it comes up. It looks like a color.
Yeah,
it's kind of flashing.
Well, it is a color.
It's a color. It's flashing. It's like
it's all different colors.
It's like a flash bulb. I like to see them.
Oh, Jonna says, I think our niece would die if we could get the tee Jenny is wearing. That's like her favorite film. I made this actually because Dead Ringers is actually one of my favorite movies.
They were asking how you get a shirt. If you're a subscriber
or a patron,
I meant
it's a $20 and up patron, or if like. I've also been giving like people that give like through PayPal and like give like big donations and stuff like that.
If you guys give if you're a $20 a month patron, you're gonna get a shirt every quarter.
Yeah, or whenever we get around.
Whenever,
because I think we missed last quarter.
We fucked up the last one. And the thing is that if you don't give us the fucking sizes, because we send out emails and we contact people, what size do you want? And a lot of people don't respond. If we don't ever get a response about what the size, we don't send it. Because a lot of people don't give a shit, but some people do. Or if you give us donations, you remind us, I'll send you some shirts. And they're handmade. I make them through photo screen.
Yeah.
And she does the designs. It's actually, this is a
Zazzle.
That's Zazzle, but she made that.
Yeah.
But they're usually just one color, white on black.
Yeah.
They would look like this.
Yeah,
but they have our logos and they have different things. Sometimes it's a mashup. We had a Friday the 13th one.
I like that one.
But we got a new one coming. I haven't seen it yet. She just said
I finished the design yesterday night and I have to show it to you still.
But if you guys send us what's a good way to contact you?
Email
or
Facebook or quickest way is email or Facebook because I check that like multiple times.
But Mango Badger and Matt. Because Matt, you've been good and shit lately. Just contact us and I'll make sure you get a couple of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just remind me.
Just remind us and tell us what size you want.
Because I have like a big list going and I have to keep like adding names on. And, like I need like mailing addresses.
We're gonna do a big shipment.
Yeah, that'll be nice. It'll be like a while because I gotta order the shirts.
Yeah.
When I get all the sizes and then we gotta print them and then I gotta get them all sent
out. And I'll make them and then we'll send them out.
But yeah, we're gonna do that. All right. So like I said. So this guy allegedly molested the 3-year-old, his own 3-year-old son. They couldn't really find any physical evidence of that, but his, visitation with the kids was still, supervised, like after they divorced. Now, so he divorces Debbie, who's his second wife, and then he marries this other woman, Wanda Barzee, who was his accomplice in the kidnapping of Elisabeth Smart. Now, at the time that he married her, she was 40 years old and she had 6 kids of her own. And her kids were apparently not a fan of her. So she was a terrible person as well. One of her kids even claimed that she had cooked and fed her own pet rabbit. Like one of the kids said that. So that's pretty fucked up. So, like I said, they were both Mormons, but then they started kind of going off in their own little weird direction, like, in their own little Mormon sect or whatever that they were making on their own. Brian Mitchell changed his name to Emmanuel, and he basically thought or claimed that he was a prophet and that he had visions. And that basically he was the guy that had been chosen to get all these wives and fight the Antichrist. That was his story, and he was sticking to it.
To combat the Antichrist, of course, you need a bunch of wives and I guess a bunch of children.
And a bunch of underage wives. That's how that works. Oh, my goodness. Thank you very much, Hayden. That's awesome. Get some booze. Oh, we will. Don't worry about that.
Oh, shit. Mr. Santos.
We can get lots of booze with that.
Send Jenny a private message after the show. I'll make sure you get some shirts.
Yeah, like I said, just remind me, because I have like a huge list, and it's like, so I can't I'm trying to remember everybody, but it's like it's really hard, and I need everybody's addresses and stuff. So so he changes his name to Emmanuel. His wife Wanda changes her name to Hephzibah, and they decide they're just gonna go like on this mission, and they're just gonna like wander around and panhandle and try to like spread their message of whatever the fuck the message was, that he was going to fight the Antichrist and he needed all these wives and shit like that. So they would be seen often around downtown Salt Lake City, asking people for money and shit like that. And it's weird because Brian Mitchell, he originally looked like a real clean cut dude. Like you would imagine a Mormon would look like. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like he had really short hair.
If you guys don't know what Mormons are, if you're in another country.
They have them in other countries.
Yeah. I think they're a little more rare though. They even had some in Brazil. Mormons are a fucking interesting Christian cult that they have in the United States. It's very Gnostic. It has its own texts. They're not very old. They almost read like sci-fi in a certain way, but really a lot of the old Christian texts kind of read like sci-fi too, but almost kind of, and there's a lot of elements that were borrowed from Islam. But one of the weird things about Mormons is that for a while they practiced selective breeding. They tend to be very good looking and pretty healthy. So that's just kind of a basic description of a Mormon.
Yeah, this guy, I don't know. I wouldn't personally call him good looking, but before he went all like, Jesus bum, he looked like a totally respectable, like clean cut individual.
Upper echelons of the fucking Latter-day Saints church are fucking look like models.
Yeah.
I know. Remember that prom picture of me?
Yeah.
That was with basically a Mormon princess.
Oh, that girl's a Mormon? I didn't know.
Yeah. Her dad was almost kind of like the equivalent of a Mormon bishop that was in charge of the mission over Brazil. Her name was Molly Day. And she was like the cutest girl in school, really. I wasn't dating her, but it's kind of like, during the prom thing, they had the prom king and the prom king. They all vote on who looks the best. Yeah. Then they put you together.
Yeah.
Of course, the date that I was with that night was pissed.
Well, yeah, I'd have been pissed.
You know what I mean? But it's towards the end of your senior year anyway.
Yeah.
But fucking, no, Molly looked like a model.
Yeah.
And that's a high-ranking Mormon. Kind of like a high-ranking Scientologist. Very similar.
Although I feel like Scientologists aren't quite as good looking because
they're not,
because they have all that thing where L. Ron Hubbard told them that smoking was good for you.
Yeah, right. The difference being is that Scientology has been around for generations, and of course the high-ranking ones always had their select pick of the best-looking women, and over a few generations they stratify.
Yeah,
there's a genetic stratification going on in the Mormon Church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I said, the guy was kind of clean cut, and that'll kind of come into play later on because it would turn out that the reason that he knew about Elizabeth Smart was because he had been begging like in the street, and the family had given him work at their house. So he had actually worked at their house. I think it was only a day or two. Like he worked on the roof and like did some handyman shit around the house. And I guess he saw Elizabeth and decided that God said that she was supposed to be one of his wives. And that's how that worked out. I mean, it was a while, like, between him being at the house and between him kidnapping her. But yeah, so he looked kind of like, I don't think, as far as I could determine, he didn't look like a Jesus bum when they hired him to work at the house. He just looked like a normal dude that was like down on his luck. But like later on, as it went on, he started to look more and more like Jesus. He'd go around in robes and he had like a big, huge beard and shit. So like I said, so he breaks into their house, into the Smart house on June 5th, 2002, broke in and took Elizabeth. Now, even though the sister, Mary Catherine, she woke up, she didn't get a super good look at him, but she did give the cops a fairly okay description. She said, he's about the height of my brother, which would have been about 5'8". She said he was 30 or 40 years old, even though he was in actuality a little bit older than that. She said he was wearing light colored clothes, even though he was wearing black. But she said he had dark hair, and she thought he had a gun, but it was actually a knife. She also said something very interesting, and this would actually come into play later on, even though the cops didn't take it seriously until later. She said that his voice was familiar, but she couldn't quite place it. She said, it's not like somebody I know, but somebody I've heard them talk before. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't a friend of theirs or someone that was really close to them, but she knew she had heard the voice before. She just couldn't remember where she had heard it. And that would come into play later on. Oh, we seized up. Oh, okay, there we go. Okay, so she also told the police that she thought she heard the guy say that he was taking Elisabeth for ransom. She said that he looked all right. Like he seemed like he was polite. He was clean. He was like nicely dressed and everything like that.
Oh, look, I got the picture of the Mormon princess.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Me a prom date. Hold on.
What are you doing?
Me a prom. There. Hold on. Is this? Can't really see it.
Yeah.
Here we go. That was my prom picture.
Yeah. Funny. Mm-hmm. All right. So let's see. Where was I? All right. So as I said, he kidnaps their daughter, and they, see the windows been cut open and everything like that. Now, there was actually, I was watching earlier today, there was a Lifetime movie because, every time there's a crime, Lifetime makes a movie about it.
Yeah.
So, of course, there was one. Actually, I think there was two about this one. There was the I Am Elisabeth Smart, which I think was based on her book. And then the one that I saw, which was the Elisabeth Smart story, which I think came out in 2015 or something like that. And in that one, I'm not sure how accurate this is, but normally in a case like this, the first suspects they would question would be the parents, because they have to eliminate them. And also because a lot of times when a kid goes missing or, comes to harm or something like that, a lot of times, sometimes the parents are involved, so they have to eliminate them as suspects. So they did kind of seem to focus on, maybe they thought that the dad or another family member had something to do with it. So there was kind of that whole issue. But, the parents came out, they were just they were adamant that they had nothing to do with it. They came out on the media and everything like that. There were all these fucking searches. They had fucking dogs. They had everything like that. The sad thing about it was that Brian Mitchell and Wanda Barzee, they didn't take her that far, at least initially. They were on foot. They were homeless. So basically they took her out of her house and behind the house and over this mountain or something like that. And then took her to this fucking campsite, and they take her to the campsite, and then he marries her. Yeah. And then rapes her.
Yeah.
And then
consummating it.
Yeah, that's what he said. She said that's the word he used.
Yeah,
and she's like, and I was only 14. She's like, I'm not entire. She's like, I can't really remember, but she's like, I'm not entirely sure I even knew what that word meant. She's like, I think I kind of knew, and I was hoping it wasn't that. But then it started to happen. She's like, oh, it was that. Fuck. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And also he, like I said, they just lived in this fucking campsite out in the woods. And basically he kept her leashed to a tree, with this metal cable, it was around her ankle. She could go from the tree to the tent, and that's it, to keep her from running away. So the cops are they have the bloodhounds. They searched the house for fingerprints, DNA, everything like that. They didn't find anything. Now, early in the investigation, they actually thought that they had a pretty decent lead. Now, there was this guy named Richard Ricci, and he had worked for the Smart family as a handyman, and he had worked there for several months, I believe. So the family were all familiar with him. He knew all the kids' names, and he had been there. They all knew who he was. Now, he had also had a heroin problem. and he had robbed or, stolen things from other houses in the neighborhood. And he had stolen a few things from the Smart's house in particular, like some of the mother's jewelry and some other things like that. So it seemed like initially, after the cops were kind of over their, the family did it kind of thing, after they figured out that the dad and the uncle and everything like that didn't have anything to do with it, then it seemed like they laser focused on this Richard Ricci dude, and they didn't really want to hear any other information. You know what I mean? So it really seemed like and I can kind of see why they did that, because he did seem like a good suspect. I mean, he was a handyman. He had worked in the house for a significant period of time. He knew the layout. He knew all the kids' names. He had stolen from that family. He had stolen from other families in the neighborhood. So there was every reason to think that maybe he was suspicious. Also, his only alibi for the night of the disappearance was his wife saying, no, he was in bed with me, which is an alibi, but it's not the best alibi. So I feel like the cops kind of thought, oh, well, this is the guy. Well, he vehemently denied it. There's still interviews with him up on YouTube and everything like that. But the cops really did seem to think it was him. However, he had a brain hemorrhage while he was in custody and was essentially brain dead. So at this stage, they still thought it was him. Even Elizabeth Smart's parents were kind of leaning toward it being him. But at this point, his life support was eventually, disconnected, and he died. So they were kind of left in this limbo where they thought maybe it was him, but maybe not. But now he's dead, so there's nothing we can do about it. And it's it won't be solved. We don't know where Elisabeth is. He never told us, and all this other kind of shit. So it seemed like after that guy died, the cops were just kind of I don't want to say they were just pawning the family off, but they were kind of well, that was who did it, and he's dead now. Maybe he had an accomplice and we're still looking for that, but just leave us alone and blah, 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 blah. So that whole thing happened. Now it seemed like the parents during this time, they were very religious, and the dad in particular was absolutely convinced that Elisabeth was still alive somewhere. Now, it does seem like the mom, who I think her name was Lois, it does seem like the mom, obviously she wanted Elisabeth to still be alive, but I think she was kind of more open to the possibility. She's like, look, it's that hardly ever happens. And so she was kind of more willing to entertain the possibility that her daughter might be dead. So, just because statistically wasn't going to give up on it. So
that's good though.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, that's what you want.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
Dad manning up. Just I know she's alive.
Yeah, and he was just he basically.
He's lucky that she was though, because most of the time.
Because most of the time, yeah, and I feel like it's sad to say, but I feel like in 99% of the situations that would not have worked out.
Yeah.
The way it looks good in retrospect that he said, I knew she was alive the whole time, but
he had a feeling.
But other parents say that too, and then it turns out that their kids are dead. So and that's terrible. And they were just really lucky that it worked out in this situation, even though, Elisabeth obviously went through a horrible ordeal over the time she was gone.
Yeah. Smart was a good girl. You know what I mean? Fucking what she went through was fucking bad. I'm glad that she came through it all right.
Yeah.
She was cute as a bug. I mean, fucking.
She still is. She's done a TED Talk and everything.
She didn't have anything to do with this. It was just fucking thrust upon her by some fucking nutcase.
Yeah, some dude just broke into her, he had worked at their house. Yeah. He was a homeless guy. The family had felt bad for him. He had asked them for money or work or something, and they said, hey, maybe there's something around our house you can do, and we'll give you some money. So he came to their house one day or something, worked on the roof, and I guess he saw Elisabeth and decided that she was going to be his wife, and he just planned it over this fucking time period, just busted into their house and just took her in the middle of the night and basically took her all over Salt Lake City. And the scary thing about this too was that him and his wife, Wanda, they would panhandle in downtown Salt Lake City. And Elisabeth was with them, but he would make the women wear he would put robes on them, put like veils over their faces and stuff. And then he would say that, oh, it's, against our religion, like to take the veil off so you can't see their faces. So no one really thought, and it's scary because like a couple of times when they were in like a diner or a library or something like that, like somebody would see the girl and would get suspicious. Like they would look at her eyes and be like, man, that looks like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the fact that, and a lot of people have kind of gone into this too, because it did seem like, I don't really want to say it like this, but I can't think of another way to say it. It does seem like there was a lot of opportunities for Elisabeth to get away, and she didn't. But like I said, she was very young. Scared. She was 14. Yeah. 2, Brian had told her that he had other followers, and that if she tried to get away, that he would kill her family, or he would have some of his followers kill her family. And I don't think she had any reason to doubt that. Also, he had another woman with him who, when somebody came up, like asking them questions, like the woman would like grab her wrist like that and be like, or he would grab her like under the table and be like, you better not say anything or bad shit's going to happen. So she was afraid of him. And I think she did try to like do little things like to try and escape and shit like that. But the shitty thing is that a day or two after she was taken, and they were just like out in this fucking camp, like out in the woods, and the search parties that were looking for her, like they almost found her. They were like kind of like close by, so close that she could hear someone calling her, and she recognized the voice. It was her uncle's.
Yeah.
And and it was like right there.
Well, you chalk it all up to youth too. You know what I mean? They're impressed with adults. They believe what adults say.
Yeah, and she was a little bit.
She's a little kid.
And she was a little bit sheltered too.
Yeah.
She'd come from like a very religious, like kind of a sheltered background.
You can have had she been a little bit older, she'd realize that this dude's full of shit. You know what I mean? She could have really just kind of had an outburst in public and grabbed somebody, get me away from these people. They abducted me, and that would have been the end of it.
Yeah.
But when you're a little kid, you believe, I'll have your family killed. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you don't know.
If you're a kid, you don't know.
That's what I mean.
Somebody tells me that, I'm going to put you
somebody tells me
I'm
that.
I'm going to fucking put you in a submission hold and fucking turn your neck too far. You're going to hear it crack.
But yeah, right? You're 14.
You're 14, you're going to believe this fucker. But to me, he's just a bum.
Yeah.
A stomp through you.
Yeah.
In front of your woman. You know what I mean? But I can understand, when you're a little kid and you're a little girl and you're half his weight, you might actually believe these threats.
And he's raped her numerous times. Yeah. He beats her numerous times. It's like he's made all kinds of threats.
I'd have that bitch calling me daddy within about 5 minutes.
Apparently, also, she said later that he had, would force her to take drugs, drink alcohol. He would feed her garbage.
Yeah.
He basically, I don't know if he necessarily brainwashed her all the way, but he made her change her name. Yeah. She changed it to Esther. And they just wandered around, him and this woman, and they dragged her around everywhere saying how, we're protecting you from the sins of the world. God said this is what we're supposed to do. And so it was just like this whole thing. And I think she was like, she was scared of them.
Yeah. He's lucky. Because with me, he'd be face to face with fucking Satan. All right. And he could read that Bible all he wanted, and it's not going to fucking save him.
I'll shove that Bible right up his fucking ass.
I'll fucking break his fucking bone. His wife is going to be pleading and shit. And then I'll fuck her up too, set her in her place, and then go back and work on him. I'm glad that there's law enforcement. All this shit that's going on now, disband police and shit like that. I think all that shit's ridiculous because that means I'm in charge. When I'm in charge, that's like putting the fucking devil in charge. And there's millions of them like me. You know what I mean? It's good that we have reasonable, level-headed people because I'm not one of them. If I got a hold of that motherfucker, man, they'd make a whole goddamn Quentin Tarantino movie behind what I did to that dude.
Well, like I said, I don't think, but see, that's a very natural inclination.
I'm very natural.
Because this guy is this guy is terrible.
You're fucking terrible. That's
I
right.
mean, and that's like a normal thing because I feel the same way.
Videotape it on the phone and get a recordings of everything to fucking make a whole online monument to this man's suffering. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, like I said, I think the main thing about it is that
because you do some shit like that to an innocent.
And like I said, when it's just like we were talking about Ariel Castro and about the Fritzl case. Yeah. It's like these people are very willing to make other people suffer.
Yeah, but then they want to be a pussy when.
They don't want to suffer
their
in
time.
return.
When it's their time, they can dish it, but they can't take it out.
Right.
This is something that even. This goes back to the fucking samurai and shit. You know what I mean? With fucking Hagakure and shit like that in those books where. You just don't have a right to take a human life or to fucking make another person suffer unless you are also willing to give up your own life and to suffer. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. I don't understand that shit. How can these dudes want to jump in this game where they do this, but they want to be immune to the game? It's just, it's inconceivable.
I think that's what makes people angry.
When I joined the army, I knew that I could be killed.
Yeah.
That was just part of the fucking deal. You know what I mean? That's something that you have to internalize it and fucking actualize it that this is a fucking game in which you can win or lose. You know what I mean? I don't understand this thing where it's like solipsism. You know what I mean? Where you're the center of the universe and you can do whatever you want, but another person's will, you're immune to that. This is a fucking childish concept.
I think that's the problem.
This is
and I think that a lot of people, like serial killers and all these type of like people with this type of psychopathy.
Solipsism. Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically you think you can do whatever you want, but you get upset when other people
do what they want,
exercise their will or their
you.
Right. They don't like that.
Yeah.
Because it surprises them because I feel like people like that think everyone else is essentially an NPC.
Yeah, exactly.
They think
and you see,
so when they see somebody acting like in a way that's like not what they expect or not what they want, it upsets them because they expect everyone to just kind of do what they want them to do.
It kind of infuriates me.
Yeah, no one has rights but me. Exactly.
Right. Yeah,
exactly.
Like somebody grabs Pookie and starts doing shit. You think you're going to be immune? You think you're going to be immune? No, I'm going to do some shit to you. Worse. Just, I'm going to do something worse to you. Because I
get at him first.
I'm into
if there's anything left, then you can.
I'm into that Old Testament shit. You know what I mean? Avenged. What you do, I will avenge sevenfold. You know what I mean? And then 77-fold. I'm into that shit. I can understand that shit. I understand it very well. That's why I would make a good Italian mobster. I understand exactly. Would. Yes, I would make a great Italian.
But like I said, that's a very natural thing. Like if somebody did something.
That's why I love the Italians. I got Italians out there. I fucking love Italian. I understand it. It goes all the way back to ancient Rome. Masters of good and evil. You know what I'm talking about? I understand. To achieve, because life is not good versus evil. It's mostly evil versus evil. But you can use evil versus evil to achieve a greater good. There's a way.
I'm just saying, if you're terrible, you deserve to have terrible shit done.
Yeah, of course.
And like I said, anybody that has a kid, and I don't have a kid, but I have Pookie, and she's like my kid. And like I said, if anybody did anything to Pookie,
this is the end of you.
That's
like a child. That's like a child.
She is like a child.
Exactly.
And like I said, I'm not going to make it easy for you either. I'm just gonna cut off little bits of you, and I'm gonna eat them in front of your face and everything. And I'll think about it a long time. Yeah. But yeah, so like I said, so they've been wandering around for a little while. It's made her change her name. She has to wear like all these fucking veils and everything. They decide that they're gonna I guess the heat's getting too much in Salt Lake City. Like people are starting because the dumb thing about this, I don't know if this dude is really crazy, if he thinks God's gonna protect him or something like that. But he's not a master criminal. Let's just put it that way. Because he stayed in Salt Lake City. They're panhandling outside, like in downtown Salt Lake City. And even though Elisabeth is wearing a veil and with the hood and everything like that, they look so weird that people are going to notice them. And a lot of people notice them. They even had nicknames around downtown, there's the Jesus, there's Jesus, or there's this, that, and the other thing, because they looked unusual. So they stood out. So
my tablet's going to die. How much time we got left on this show?
Not much. Just, you're all right. Just let me finish
on this. I can plug it in if I have to.
Well, yeah, you got a charger somewhere.
Let me go get the charging cable. Go ahead with the
all
show.
All right. So I'm going to keep on talking about this case. So they decide that they're going to move somewhere, but they don't know where. And I guess, they're homeless and they don't have, phones or anything. Plus, it's only 2002. So they go into a public library and they start looking at maps, like to decide where they're going to move to. Now, while they're in this library, Brian's looking at maps and they decide they're going to go to San Diego. But while they're in the library, a cop comes in there and he gets suspicious because he notices them because they're dressed weird. And then he's like looking at the girl and he thinks she looks like Elizabeth Smart, but he asks her and she won't answer. And then Brian comes over and says, no, that's my daughter, Augustine. This is my wife and my daughter. And in our religion, like, women aren't allowed to talk in public and all this other kind of shit. So the cop was just kind of like looking at him. And then he was like, I guess. Okay. Now, like later on, Elisabeth said that she was really mad at herself for not saying anything when the cop was right there. Like when the cop walked out, she was like super bummed out. But like I said, they went other places. They went to grocery stores, they went to restaurants and all this other kind of shit. They even went to like this party and they even had their picture taken, like with the veils on, but no one really, like a couple people were like, that's really weird, but no one really, said anything about it, I guess. So in September of 2002, they went to San Diego and they camped out like in this fucking creek bed. And so over the next few months, they kept moving around to these different camps. And they would sometimes like move in the middle of the night, like so they didn't get caught and everything. Now, for a time, Brian, I believe, spent at least, it might have been 5 to 7 days in jail. They caught him stealing stuff from a church. Like, I'm not sure what he took. Like in the movie that I watched, it looked like he just took like some candles and like some fucking, plates or something. I don't know what he was looking for. He needed some religious supplies, I guess. So he broke into a church and like took some shit. And he was gone for a little while, but I guess like Elisabeth and Wanda were like still at the camp and they didn't leave. Like they just kind of stayed there. So about a month after that, while the cops were still kind of not exactly really investigating it all that stringently, and like I said, they were still convinced that Richard Ricci was the guy and he was dead. And as far as they were concerned, it's like, yeah, the case is still open. We're still looking for her. We're still looking for a possible accomplice. But, the main guy who we think it was is probably dead, so it's fine. However, in October of 2002, Mary Catherine suddenly remembered where she had heard the voice before, because as I mentioned, she told her parents and she told the police that the person that had kidnapped Elisabeth, she recognized his voice, but she couldn't place it. So she came in and she told her mom and dad, she's like, I think I know whose voice that was. It was Emmanuel. Now, as soon as she said this, the dad was like, he couldn't believe that she remembered. Because, somebody says, I might have missed it. Did he sexually abuse her? Yes, he did.
Oh, hell yeah, he did.
Yes, he did.
He was using it up.
Yeah. I'm honestly amazed that she didn't get pregnant. You know what I mean? Yeah, he raped her multiple times. It was pretty horrible. So the little sister finally remembers, because there was a thing where the cops were telling, it's like, look, if she was a witness, she saw the guy, she heard the guy. It's like, don't taint her memories. So like, don't talk too much about her. Maybe she'll remember in her own time. But it took her a little while, but she actually did remember. She came to her dad and said it was Emmanuel. Now the dad was like freaked out because he's like, dude, that guy was only here for like 1 day. And it was a long time ago, because at this point, the dad, he was starting to think like, look, Richard Ricci, even though he seemed a likely suspect, he's like, look, he doesn't sound like the person that my daughter saw in the room that night. He's like, one, that dude was really tall. Like, if you remember, Mary Catherine said the guy that took Elisabeth was only 5'7", 5'8", whereas Richard Ricci was more like 6'2" or something like that. He said, and he also pointed out, he's like, look, Richard Ricci was working in our house for like several months and all the kids knew him. If it had been him in the room that night, Mary Catherine would have said, oh, it was Richard, because she knew him. So the fact that she didn't recognize the dude, but she kind of recognized the voice, she's like, that made sense, because it was like, this is a guy that just was here one day and did some work, but she remembered what his voice sounded like, but it took her like several months to remember.
You want another drink?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go get another drink.
I gotta be the bartender.
Well, you make better ones than me. Okay. He makes like really strong ones. So at first, the cops were kind of like, okay, well, that doesn't really help us. Like Emmanuel, we don't know anybody with that name. And it didn't help either that in the time period between when he had been hired at the house and when he took her, like he looked completely different, because like I said, he was real clean cut looking. And then later he's looked like Jesus-y and looked like kind of like a bum. So he had like, you know, a long beard and everything. So they had a sketch drawn, which kind of looked pretty good. It actually does kind of look like him. Now the cops, there was kind of like a conflict, because the cops were like, man, don't tell the public or don't tell the media that about this guy. Because we're pretty sure it's this other dude. And it seemed like the cops were fighting with them about it. And the dad kind of went back and forth with the cops, and he was on America's Most Wanted. And he was like, the guy on America's Most Wanted, John Walsh or whoever, he was kind of like, you know, the cops don't really seem like they have your best interests at heart. Maybe you should just announce this, go around them and just announce this to this information to the media, like about Emmanuel. And we'll just go directly to the public. We'll go directly to the media, because the cops don't really seem interested in helping you at this point. Now, I'm not sure how this worked out, because I never got the impression from all the shit that I read about this case that John Walsh on America's Most Wanted, in the movie that they made, like the Lifetime movie, they dramatized it where Elisabeth's dad told John Walsh, like in confidence, like when they weren't on camera, told them about the Emmanuel lead and, oh, hey, my daughter remembered the voice. And then later John Walsh went on camera and said it when the dad hadn't told him that he could do that. But from everything that I've read about the case, it seemed like that was like an agreement. Thank you.
Welcome.
That was like an agreement between them that they were just going to go on TV and give this information to the public directly instead of going through the cops, because the cops didn't really seem to be taking it seriously, either because they thought the girl was 9 and she didn't know what she was talking about, or because they were convinced that Ricci was the kidnapper, or for whatever reasons. They just didn't kind of want to hear it. So basically the Smart family just went right to the public and they said, look, we're looking for this dude named Emmanuel, and this is kind of what he looks like. And, you know, he worked here for whatever, and he was like a homeless person, whatever. So it turned out that, March 12th, 2003, or actually when they showed on America's Most Wanted, they talked about the Emmanuel thing. One of Brian, aka Emmanuel's relatives, called in and gave cops pictures of him. So I think it was his ex-wife, like, called and said, that looks like my scumbag ex-husband, like, whose name is Brian Mitchell. So then the cops like had his name. March 12th, 2003, someone spotted Brian Mitchell with a woman and a girl in Sandy, Utah. Now, he was seen by 2 separate sets of people, and both of these people recognized him because they'd seen the picture on the news at this point. And they determined the woman was Wanda Barzee. And Elisabeth, at this point, I think she was just wearing the veil, but she also had like a really ridiculous and obvious like gray wig on and a big thing and a big pair of sunglasses. So it looked
like an old cheap.
Yeah, it looked like ridiculous. So a lot of people like noticed it, which, like I said, this dude was not like a master criminal or anything. So a couple people recognized him and called the cops. So then the cops come, and initially they come up to them in a park and they're talking to all of them. And initially Elisabeth Smart said that her name was, She either said it was Esther or she said it was Augustine, and she said they were from Miami. And the cops were pretty sure at this point that it was Elisabeth. So they kept asking her, what part of Miami are you from? What part of this and that and the other? What?
I got the drinks fucked up.
Oh.
Look at that.
What'd you do?
This is vodka and lemonade.
Oh.
That is tequila. That's a tequila sunrise.
Well, you drink that.
Here, you have the vodka and lemonade.
I'm not drinking it. I'm just drinking tequila. I was going to say, that's not my glass.
Yeah. Okay. I got the juices backwards.
That's all right.
It's okay. It's still good.
Yeah,
vodka and lemonade's good.
Lemonade's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, the cop at this point was pretty sure that this is Liz. So he kept like, he's like, "What's your name? What's your name? What's your name?" And she kept giving him the fake name.
Jenna caught that. She's like, "That drink is too big."
Yeah, yeah, because you have that big huge glass, and I just have the regular jar.
Yeah, so I got a tequila sunrise, and she's got a.
Yeah, right. And then finally, the cop got her to admit that she was Elisabeth Smart. At which point, they arrested the two assholes. And they took Elisabeth into the police station. And I have to admit, Lifetime movies are super cheesy and everything like that. But the one I was watching about this, when they did the scene about the dad, like walking into the police station and seeing her sitting there and then like hugging and everything, that kind of teared up a little bit. It was like kind of cool. And you know what I mean? And when they interviewed like the actual couple, and there was, because like I said, this is something that never happens. Your kid gets kidnapped. She was gone for 9 months, by the way. And was raped numerous times, was dragged all over, and, you know, said she was being taken away from the sins of the world and all this other kind of crap and all these horrible things that she went through, and was finally returned to her family. Now, there was I don't want to go too much into it. Like, if you can go into the like Wikipedia page and everything, but that goes a lot more into it. But so Brian Mitchell, when he was taken into custody, there was this it took 8 years for one thing, like after he got arrested, for him to go to trial. It was like 8 years between the arrest and the trial, because for all this time, they were trying to determine if he was mentally competent to stand trial. Because one thing that he was doing, they were trying to determine whether, because I guess if you're like come up with all these weird religious, like all this religious shit that he was coming up with, there's a fine line between just having like religious conviction and being completely fucking delusional. And so they were trying to like determine where that line was. And they were also trying to determine if he was faking it, because it seemed to me, I don't know, Elisabeth Smart, I don't know if she said this outright, but she seemed to be implying that she thought he was probably faking it because she said he was very smart and that he was very manipulative. And it seemed like something that he would do, that he would try to make himself seem crazy in court so that he wouldn't get tried or he wouldn't get in trouble. Like he would do shit like, you know, he'd be brought into court, and as soon as he gets brought into court, he just starts singing hymns like at the top of his voice, so he gets removed. You know, just doing crazy shit and like saying crazy shit to the judges. And then, so there was like a whole thing whether he was competent to stand trial. And then it was like, well, can we legally medicate him against his will to make him competent to stand trial? So that was a whole other can of worms. In the end, like I said, it took 8 years. I don't think he went to trial until 2010.
Damn.
But they actually did finally decide that he was competent and he was found guilty. Now, Wanda Barzee, I believe she got 15 years. She might have been released, though, at this point. I can't remember.
I don't think that bitch was crazy.
I don't think so either. I think he was...
He just wanted some young trim. That's all it was.
Yeah. Oh, and I forgot to mention, too, this is also very special, is that he wasn't... Elisabeth Smart wasn't the only wife that he wanted. He was also going to make a wife out of Elizabeth's cousin. I think the cousin was named Olivia.
Okay.
I think. And he actually tried to break into their house too. But the little girl woke up and saw him and started screaming her head off.
How old was she?
I think she was around the same age.
Around the same age? Yeah.
She started screaming her head off and he took off.
Told you he would take off.
Yeah. And he took off like when she saw him. Now, that was another thing, because when that happened, I believe like Richard Ricci, the first guy that they thought did it, was still in custody at that point. So the cops thought it was a copycat, but the dad, Elisabeth Smart's dad, was like, that's the same dude that did that, because he was trying to take the cousin as well.
The fucking scuzzbag.
Yeah. So So that happened as well. So she might have been kidnapped also.
He needed his ass beat.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think anyone's beat his ass yet. So it's not too late.
Yeah.
Someone can still get him.
He was just more of a poor bum version of that other dude who ran a damn Mormon church. Who was the dude that was raping all the little kids, all the little boys? Warren Jeffs.
So
Warren
many.
Was his name Warren Jeffs?
I don't remember.
Some shit like that. Fucking, he had a whole cult, and they were what they called a separatist cult.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Let me see that flash.
Thank you, Matt. Cheers. I'm buzzed. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Good. Go ahead. Go ahead on, Matt.
It's Saturday night.
Matt's been contributing. Gosh, I can't even talk.
Matt's
been dishing it out like a high roller. Like a high roller.
Making it rain.
That's the dude is pimping.
You're cracking me up with your fucking like your old man kind of.
Yeah, I'm being old man right now. I'm in the old man. That's my dad's voice.
Your dad's
I'm gonna do my dad's voice. You gotta understand something. He's pimping. That's how my dad would say.
Are you full of turkey necks right now?
I saw it. They put turkey necks in my heart.
What if I said I didn't believe you?
Yeah. That's your prerogative.
That's what I was trying to get you to say. That still makes me laugh to this day. He's full of turkey necks and you didn't believe him.
If you guys don't know that story. If you guys don't know that story, what was that? About over a year ago.
It was a couple years ago.
I had to fly back to Mississippi because my dad was getting like a fucking quadruple bypass. And after he came out of surgery, he was telling me, he goes, I saw that doctor. He put some turkey necks in there. And I said, turkey necks? Said, yeah, turkey necks. And he said that shit for days. I said, they didn't put turkey necks. He goes, I saw it.
It's like, why would they put turkey necks in there?
He goes, I don't know. I saw him put him in there. And I said, I don't believe that. He goes, that's your prerogative. He could swear that his heart was repaired with turkey neck skin.
Yeah.
But what it really was is that the woman that lived across the street, I forgot her name. She was this sweet black woman. And she used to bring, and she's young. She's about my age. Well, she's younger than me, in her 40s. And she feeds my dad. And her husband is a fucking ex-army guy. So, we're all service people. So they take care of my dad. My dad is the last white man in Heidelberg, Mississippi. He is. It's a little town of about 1,000 people. He's the last white guy. And all the rest of them are died. They all died off. But she would bring him turkey necks.
Yeah.
And he fucking loved those turkey necks. Well, she came and visited him in the hospital that day.
Yeah.
And somehow it made a connection to where
he thought of turkey necks.
He thought that the doctor put turkey necks in it. And I'm thinking her name was Glenda. Whatever. And I was like, no, man, no, that didn't happen.
He's like, there might have been turkey necks in your belly.
Turkey necks in there. And I said, no, they didn't. No. And I said, your neighbor came and visited you.
Yeah.
And she makes you turkey necks. Yeah. And he's like, he just couldn't accept it. He thought at the hospital he was at before, he thought that he had been abducted by a cult.
Oh.
That he wasn't supposed to be in the hospital.
Yeah.
And behind my back, when he was in this new hospital where I was, after I'd gotten down there, his friend Sonny, okay, and his friend Sonny is big into guns and 45s. He could take a 1911 and fucking just do a trigger job on it by hand with a fucking file. And this dude's a fucking master pistol shot with fucking 45. He's in his 70s now, but that bitch was always bad with a fucking 1911 45. And he goes, Sonny, go get my gun. He's like, what you want that for, Ross? And he goes, we're getting out of here. And he was dead serious.
This is an old man escape.
Yeah, old man in their 70s planning an escape from the fucking ICU.
He's going to be crawling along the floor.
He thinks he's abducted. And they're doing some kind of experiment on him. Go down in my truck and get my gun. He goes, what you going to do with your gun, Ross? He goes, we going to get out of here. And he's like, okay, I'm going down. He's humoring him. I'm going to get him. And fucking, he wouldn't tell. My dad was playing it up. He didn't trust me. He didn't tell me there. He thought I was in with him.
Oh.
Afterwards.
You didn't tell me that.
Yeah, afterwards, Sonny was like, he wanted to escape. He wanted me to go get his gun. And the truck wasn't there. The truck was back in Heidelberg.
I was going to say.
He thought the truck was in the fucking parking lot.
He didn't drive himself to the hospital.
My dad's gun was the gun that he was talking about was a stainless steel Walther PPK that he had. My dad bought a Walther PPK. He's been a fucking shooter his whole fucking life. But he was going to James Bond his ass out of the fucking hospital
that I would have
with his heart fucking freshly put back together with his buddy Sonny.
Full of turkey necks.
They're like 73 with turkey necks going to fight their way out through the fucking, because he had been abducted by a cult that was doing a damn experiment on his heart. It was fucking bizarre.
This needs to be a graphic novel, I feel like.
Yeah. And after I called him during, I was calling him, and I call him, and it took him a long time to process that. And he goes, "Where was I when all that happened? I thought they had captured me." His memory was all fucked up.
That's crazy.
And I was like, "Yeah, you were trying to escape." "Yeah, I was trying to escape." "You were there, weren't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I visited you." He didn't really even remember me being there.
You were there for 2 weeks.
Yeah, he didn't really remember it.
You were in Mississippi for 2 weeks.
The doctor said he had what was called hospital psychosis, that he had a psychotic break from the fucking physical trauma and the mental trauma.
I can imagine.
He'd had all those heart attacks, and they kept fucking shocking him back to life with those fucking paddles.
Well, that's gonna do a number.
Yeah, and I asked him. I said, "Dad, you see any light?" Because I had a near-death experience in there in a motorcycle wreck. He knew about it. I said, "Dad, when they shocked you, when you had that heart attack, did you see yourself from above? Did you see the fucking tunnel?" Because I saw the fucking tunnel.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I didn't see nothing. There was nothing but oblivion."
Did he say it just like that?
Yeah. There was nothing but oblivion. I was kind of ominous. I was like, "There's nothing but oblivion."
It's like, ugh.
Yeah. So he was a Christian, but he is not a Christian anymore.
Oh, because he just
there's nothing but oblivion.
He didn't see anything, so he's like, "Fuck that shit."
Yeah, he's like, "Fuck it, they lied to me."
I can't even imagine. Yeah. Like, I've only had surgery one time and gone under anesthetic one time, and that was weird enough. So I can't imagine going through the kind of trauma that your dad went through, and like what a number that would do on your fucking brain. And it's like, it wasn't even that bad. Like with me, it's like I just kind of like did a lot of shit without, like, talked without remembering it and all that other kind of shit, and like had weird dreams about shit. But
they're asking me turkey necks.
Turkey necks.
Yeah, in the South. Let me explain this to you.
I don't even eat these, and I'm Southern, and I love turkey. I'll eat pretty much every part of the turkey. I don't want the neck though.
Southern people, black people too, because Southern food, real Southern food, is black people food. It's soul food.
Yeah.
And I grew up with it. You know what I mean? Hush puppies and fucking
cornbread,
collard
greens,
and, collard greens, grits. And fucking grits and gravy and red eye gravy and fucking all turkey necks.
So delicious.
And what you do is you take. Now I don't want to. Here's a fucking big misconception from people that are fucking up north. They think Southerners are poor, but in a way they're very rich. They have lots of space, and they eat a lot. Okay,
we do eat a
lot. Food is plentiful, and they eat everything and lots of everything, and it's very good tasting food. Food is a religion in the South, and it's very unhealthy. Lots of fucking bacon grease, and lots of fucking butter.
Yep.
And lots of fucking, everything's salted.
And carbs
and everything's rice and everything's fucking pasta and macaroni. Lots and lots of fucking meat, wild game, and just everything.
That's why we all have the diabetes.
They all have what they call a diabetes, or the sugar, and fucking gallons and gallons and gallons of sweet tea. All right. Which is
like syrup sweet. We're not talking about like soda or nothing like that. It's like syrup.
It's going to be in the cookbook. For you non-Southerners. Okay?
Even that's a little sweet for me, I have to say.
Right. And one of the things that a Southerner can do is take a piece of meat that's not worth anything and just make that fucking shit just delicious as shit. And it comes from fucking black Southerners, man. Black Southerners could take something that really wasn't anything special and make a fucking fantastic meal out of it. they taught white Southerners how to cook. Really, deep frying is an African thing.
Yeah,
and a lot of it has to do with deep frying. And one of the dishes that you're going to have in the South is turkey necks, because you can buy a big fucking thing of turkey necks with the skin on them for fucking $2.
Yeah, because nobody wants them.
And it's fucking it's like a worthless piece of. But you can spice them and cook them right, and they're just fucking delicious. They're like a chicken wing.
Yeah,
chicken wings are Southern, but originally a chicken wing wasn't worth anything. Now a chicken wing is per pound worth a lot.
Well, shit, man. Now they have whole entire restaurant franchises based on the fucking. They have several of them.
I first saw chicken wings in the South. You know what I mean? And they weren't buffalo chicken wings. They were just fucking frying chicken wings, lots of them, and eating them with honey and shit like that. And you could get chicken wings for probably like 39 cents a pound. So you could just
can't beat that, and you can just like eat and eat and eat.
Yeah.
Eating a pile of fucking wings.
Yeah, Yankees won't eat a fucking chicken wing. Not back in the 70s. That was some 70s shit.
Well, now they will.
Now they will. They made that shit special. And then you have all the fucking, Paul Prudhomme fucking Louisiana Cajun food, which was started off fucking as nothing. And there's certain things in fucking you don't want to eat fucking Louisiana. Like, don't for 1 second, unless you got some serious fucking truck nuts, don't fuck with boudin. Okay. I'm going on boudin stories. We're in the middle of a fucking show, and I'm talking about.
We're not
boudin.
in the middle of it. I was kind of done with it. You can go off on a. You can go off on a tangent.
You guys want to hear about boudin? One time I was going to the club, going to the French Quarter, place called the Convent. It was a fucking goth club. My first wife was waiting for me down there. This is before I married her. I was gonna go, her name was Tiffany. She looked like a cross between Lily Munster. No, not Lily Munster.
You don't even know.
I could show a picture of her. She looked like Deborah Harry. Anyway, I was on my way down there to go meet her. This is before I was even really seriously dating her or living with her. And I stopped off at the gas station, got some boudin. And a boudin was a fried ball of all kinds of fucking internal organs and stuff.
You like ball shape.
Yeah, it tasted okay. And I ate that boudin ball. It was only like $1 at the gas station. Made it about 2 miles down the freeway going to New Orleans, and all of a sudden just hit the brakes and pulled over, opened the door, and just threw up that fucking boudin everywhere. That shit is fucking that fucking boudin was fucking rotten.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you guys my first wife. Okay.
I forgot what she looked like. It's been such a long time.
My first wife.
He has a type, as you can see.
I'm my first wife. Okay.
I was just gonna say, remember how when we were talking about we were talking about Southern food.
Mm-hmm.
The last Gordon Ramsay Uncharted, he did one in Louisiana.
Yeah.
And they were you messed it up.
Messed it up. Here we go. What the hell?
You're fucking it up.
Okay. But
he was eating, they made him shoot a nutria, which, it's like a big giant rat. And I thought he was going to make something out of it, but he chickened out. But he did eat like a stew that the dude's mom had made like out of nutria. And he said it was good. Although he says that about
Nutra is fucking like rabbit.
They look kind of like, he kept saying it's a rat, which they do have rat tails, but they look more like beavers. They're an invasive species. So there's like a $6, like if you kill them and bring their tails in, you get $6 per tail. So apparently some people that live in the bayou, like that's their whole livelihood is they just go around shooting all these animals and then like collecting the bounty on them. And I guess because, like I said, they don't like to waste anything, they make stew out of the meat. And it's apparently pretty good if it's, if it's done correctly. Why did our light get all weird? It looked like it got brighter in here. You must have messed it up.
No, I messed it up from fucking around.
From fucking around.
Yeah. They're saying you prettier, Jenny.
Huh?
They're saying you prettier, Jenny. That's good.
Aw.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tiffany kind of looked like producer Morrison.
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did. Somebody mentioned that. She's crazy though. She's crazy though.
We're all crazy.
Yeah,
Isn't that what dudes say?
Yeah, she's crazy.
All women are crazy.
She's not goth anymore. That bitch a hipster. She defected.
She defected.
She defected.
How can you not be? I don't know. It's like I'm like goth in my DNA. I can't. Yeah. I don't know how to be any different.
That was the 90s, man.
You know what I mean? Even before I knew what that was, as soon as I was like old enough to read, I was just like scary stuff.
Yeah. Just imagine like 90 something and you run into that. Hold on.
Hold on.
Hold on. I can't. It won't get it. It won't get it. It was impressive back then.
Tammy says women are crazy because men make us crazy. That is exactly correct.
That's true.
That is exactly correct.
That's true.
Men are crazy making creatures.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy though. Well, no more than any other person. I definitely have my crazy issues. But you know, who doesn't?
All right, what else do we got to talk about?
I think that's it. I finished up, right? Okay. Because like I said, she eventually like ended up getting away. And like I said, she Elisabeth Smart, she's done TED Talks, she's written books, she's done all kind of shit. And they've done, you know, there's tons of books, there's tons of like documentaries about her case. She seems like a very lovely human being. And she really kind of seemed to like really get through. So she gives like all these inspirational talks now about, she said the day after she was found, her mom told her like, look, don't let, like, this guy like took 9 months of your life that you will never get back, but don't give him 1 second more of your life, like thinking about him or worrying about him or anything. Like, it's over and we just need to move forward, which in a way I thought was kind of like, I don't know. In a way, it sounds like you're kind of like minimizing it, but then in a way, it's kind of good too, because you don't want that fucking to think about that dude for the rest of your fucking life, right? Yeah. Like all the shit that he did. It's a fucking crazy motherfucker. So he's still in prison.
Fuck that dude.
Pretty much. Fuck beat
that dude's ass.
Fuck all these dudes. All these dudes need their fucking ass beat.
Yeah, all the ones in this show. Yeah.
I mean, Ariel Castro, he's dead, but we could dig him up and kick his ass.
Yeah. He would fall apart. As rotten as he is. A bitch would fall apart.
But especially, I think out of all these, I think that Josef Fritzl one pissed me off the most. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's kind of a hard thing to pick because these are all fucked up. But that case that's your daughter.
Yeah.
Another thing too is that he had a bunch of other kids, Josef Fritzl. Now, I think later one of the sons came forward and said that he was sexually molesting him as well.
Damn.
So I don't know if he sexually molested all of his kids.
That's some weird shit.
And he just decided that Elisabeth was the one he was going to pick to
capture.
So I don't know if he was doing that to all the kids. Like I said, at least one of the male children came forward and said that he was molesting them too. Yeah. Which would not surprise me because, like I said, this dude's like a fucking piece of shit. So any more evidence of his piece of shit is just, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. All right. So we're
going to close it out, people.
I think so.
Are you guys going to fucking send us more than flashbacks? Let me see what we got.
We did almost 4 hours. That's pretty good. Three and a half hours. Show. Well, 3.5 hours.
3.5. And we still got 53 people watching. But, hey, man, it was a good show. I'd like to thank you guys. Is there anything else we got to do? Look, we got to plug books. If you guys fucking want to buy a book, you can go on Jenny Ashford fucking Amazon.
Yeah.
And she's got Mountain Poltergeist. She's got the fucking 3 true crime books. What else you got up there, Jenny?
I got my horror fiction. Like I said, I just released the new edition of Hopeful Monsters on print and ebook. The audiobook is coming. It's done. It's just and it's uploaded.
It takes a while for them to process.
For them to go through like the quality control, yeah.
When that shit processes, we'll give you guys a heads up because you guys are probably gonna want to listen to her nonfiction. Jenny's nonfiction is awesome.
My fiction, you mean?
My fiction, I mean, yeah.
Well, my nonfiction.
I'm fucking drunk.
Awesome too.
It's all good.
Thank you again, Matt.
Damn.
Aw.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We're going to do...
Oh, thank you, Mango Badger.
We're going to do 2 of these a month, probably. When you
I kind of feel like I said, I don't know why I was so reluctant to do these. I guess just because I was afraid, like I said, I would space out and like lose my place in my notes, which I did do a couple of times, but we covered that up pretty good. And I wanted like a chance to edit it out. But now that we've started doing them, I enjoy these more because, like I said, it's at least everybody knows it's live. It's like if I have to get up in the bathroom or go to the bathroom, everybody knows that. It's like, you know, I can interact with people in real time. It's like I'm kind of more into that.
Jana Blaha saying she's reading Faceless Villain 2 right now.
Yeah. I'm working on the 4th one.
And Matt sent me $5 worth of bulbs. Thank you very much. Mango Badger, 10 pounds worth of bulbs. Awesome show, very much. You see. Yes, everybody loves the streams. And hey, man, thanks, everybody. And we will see you guys. When's the next time we're going to see them?
We will probably, honestly, we'll either do a matinee or a sidetracks tomorrow, probably.
Okay. Is it going to be live?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll see you guys live tomorrow.
Probably about 2 o'clock. We'll either we'll probably be a sidetracks or a movie review. We'll see.
2 o'clock our time. We'll send you guys a notification.
I usually post it on Instagram, Facebook, and I usually post it on the community tab on YouTube as well. Like if we're going to do one that day. I mean, we'll do one on Sunday. We'll probably do one on Monday too. Maybe a movie review. We'll see how that goes. But like I said, I kind of like doing these. They're fun.
Yeah. Okay, then. Well, thanks, folks. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Remember, like, share, subscribe, all that other kind of stuff. Patreon, you guys know. Thank you all for stopping by and spending your Saturday night with us. We got to finish drinking and then sleep and then wake up and be hungover tomorrow.
Jesus Christ. I hope I can sleep. I'll be waking up pissing all night with Pookie fucking with me.
And Pookie killing roaches and be like,
shit,
look, I got one.
Yeah, and then she starts to tell me, look, there's one over there. Look, I got it. Okay.
She's such a good girl.
Yeah. I'm just happy that she doesn't try to bring it to me in bed.
I was worried about that because I was just kind of like,
because she'll try to bring me a lizard.
Yeah.
Well, no, she brings me a lizard after she gets it into the house. She sneaks it into the house.
She does.
Tries to hide the fact that she's got it.
She's like, what?
Yeah, and then you go out to the living room and she's going, look, I got it.
Well, because I've heard stories of people that had cats and their cats like killed like say a mouse or something in the middle of the night. And then like the cat will jump up on the bed and like drop the mouse like in their hand or in their mouth or something. So I'm like
trying to feed you.
So I'm kind of worried that Pookie's going to do that with a roach one day. And I'm just going to like fucking.
Like, here, eat that.
I'm just going to throw up forever. You know what I mean? So I was kind of worried, like, when I discovered when she was banging around this morning and I saw that she was, like, killing a roach. And I was like, please don't bring me that. I know she probably wants to, but.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to wrap it up. So, again, thank you very much, everybody that came and watched it. And we will probably do another live stream tomorrow, probably about 2 o'clock Eastern time. So we'll see you guys again tomorrow. Bye.
That was a great show.